You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Patrick Meagher, Dustin Swedelson, VSiN Live.
All right, it's VSiN Live. Let's go. As we say hi, I'm Patrick Meagher, live from Los Angeles. The big guy on his perch there. SiriusXM Studios at the Wynn in Vegas. John, Brian, Jeremiah, Antoine, the squad, catering to Dustin Swedelson's every need, which is, I mean, the career trajectory for those four is a disaster. Nia Hardman back in New York City. Coattails Swedelson there in Vegas along with Ryan Smith, the big guy, in black today because it's slim and he looks good. I'm not going to lie. Jim Root's going to join us. Three-man weave, the athletic. Ryan Kramer will join as well. VSiN and sports gambling podcast host, as Dustin tells me. I'm going to just say this quickly. I don't really get fired up about games, to be honest with you, unless I'm betting them. Tonight, Dustin Swedelson, I'm about as fired up as you can be. This one's headed towards a pick'em. It's a point right now, favoritism with Florida. Florida, now this is, they say styles make matchups. You know, Kelvin Samson, 69, would be the oldest to win a national championship. Todd Golden, who's 39, hopefully he's not texting today, would be the youngest since Valvano to win in 83. But contrasting styles when it comes to the national championship game tonight with Houston and Florida, because you have Florida with the elite offense and a top 10 D. Then conversely, you have Houston with the elite D and a top 10 offense. So both are very well-rounded, but you do have the better offense in Florida, the better defense in Houston. You then have kind of a contrast with one's analytical, if you want to call it. Golden is very analytical. He's very new agey. He's young, and that's how they implement their system. They go 10 deep. You know, they analyze on the court which shot is going to give you the highest probability, on and on and on. You know, for old school people, Florida is, you know, the adversary here. And then on the opposite side, while they do embrace the analytics, you have a Houston Cougar team that is old school, down to the fact that Juwan Roberts is in his 6th year. They're a bunch of grown-ass men. They're going to beat the hell out of you. And they did just that against Duke. Let me just be very clear about what happened on Saturday night. And I see that the big guy put in our little rundown here, that John Cryer, or whatever the hell his name is. I think that was a dude from a sitcom. John Shire, whatever his name is. John Shire. And I heard Steve Torrey, just a quick shout out to Steve Torrey, who was excited about the game getting going at 8:50 his time. He's got the milk, he's got the cookies, he's got the pajamas with the little footies, and I don't know if my man's going to make it. That is Steve Torrey for you, though. He was texting on Saturday when Houston beat Duke, and let's get back to it. That was about as tight as a team. That is like Dustin Swedelson when the bill comes, when his girlfriend forces him at a bougie restaurant tight with the asshole tightening up. What happened to Duke over the last 10 minutes is completely unacceptable. If you want to keep making excuses for this little fancy team down there in North Carolina, go ahead, Dustin Swedelson. Because if you're not going to score over the last 10 minutes or a 2-3, you can't inbound the basketball. That's an issue. To pretend like Duke didn't completely implode, it's embarrassing to discuss. Now, the cheesy part would say, oh, did Houston win the game? Did Duke lose the game? I don't have an answer to that. I just know Duke sucked over the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, but
and hold on. Before I'll introduce you formally because you deserve it. I just know that they completely imploded. So whether or not that has to do with Houston imposing their will, which I'm sure it does, and that's why Houston's going to win tonight, by the way. We're going heavy on Houston.
Yes.
Whether or not it has to do with Houston imposing their will on them, big guy, I just know that the guards were bad. They couldn't score. They couldn't inbound the basketball. And John Shire froze. What's the song from Frozen? Sing it.
I don't know it. I've never seen
Okay,
Frozen.
good.
Who are you asking?
Great teammate. But bottom line is they freaking froze. What do you got for me?
Let it go.
Yeah,
Let
that's it.
go.
That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
That's
Let's
all
go.
I know. There's only words I know. Let it go.
We'll get to Florida and Auburn, but I really just think Duke in the ineptness over that Final 10. I think that's a story, and then we'll get to the national championship game.
Can we just put some respect on Houston's name? God damn it, what are we doing? Everyone's just hammering Duke. Can we give Kelvin Samson some credit? He's got grown-ass men, and when it was crunch time, those grown-ass men showed up. They did what they had to do. They were more physical. They forced Duke into mistakes. They put them on their heels. It was all about Houston. Everyone's just talking about Duke melting down. Duke melted down because they are children. They had never been tested. That was the first time they saw a press in like 3 months. Houston's been through this before. And you mentioned you're excited for this game? The Cougars plus 650. We gave it out at the start of the tournament.
That's right. That's a good job by you.
You want to talk excitement? You want to talk excitement? It's a good thing I'm alone at this desk today, because if I stood up right now, the FCC would have to blur out the whole screen. That's how excited I am for this game.
Look, they played, how many? 30-plus basketball games this year, and the poorest they played was the final 10 minutes of that game. So tell me if that's a total choke job. And we talked about coming into it with the 4 coaches, right? Like, who had pressure. Obviously, Bruce Pearl, but he had pressure. He's 65 years old. He's been barking for a long time. Todd Golden had no pressure. He's 39 years old. The only pressure he has is when he returns home and he tries to hide his phone from his wife. The pressure on John Shire, it's not there because he's going to be good for years to come, and he's going to learn from his mistakes. But mistakes were made on Saturday. He was not a very good coach, and that's where if what he did with Duke and the 3 lottery picks coming into Saturday was incredible and maybe better than what Coach K could have done. What he did over the Final 10 was something that Coach K would have performed better in. And Kelvin Samson ran circles. You're absolutely right around Shire over that last 10 minutes. And to bring it full circle and to give credit where credit's due with Houston, this is their second Final Four, their 6th straight Sweet 16, and now they got to a final. This has been building. This has been a tremendous run from a team that a few years ago was in the AAC.
Oh, no, we have to talk about the Kelvin Samson build, because I spoke to a beat writer who covers the team yesterday. He said, you don't understand. When Kelvin Samson took this job at Houston, they were playing in a gym where rats were running around. The facilities were that of a junior college team. They had nothing. 2018, they won their first tournament game in 34 years. 2019, school record, 33 wins. 2021, Final Four. Now they're going to their first national title since 1984. That dude rebuilt this program from scratch, had to start completely over, and now it looks like a team that has longevity because he's not in the portal like some of these other schools. He doesn't quite have that NIL money that the other programs have at the top. What he's doing is he's developing a certain style of player that's willing to be coached, willing to play physical basketball, and that's why it's working out for the Cougars right now.
Yeah, it's well put, and that program, it's not back in 83, 84, that program had reached the depths of despair, and now they've won 2 straight league titles in the Big 12, and they're in the final. Kelvin Samson is a freaking genius, and they're going to beat Florida tonight. Now, we'll get to that. When it comes to Florida, there is one story and one story only, and that it's the only thing that mattered on Saturday as well. Auburn's a cute little team. That's a nice football school on the Plains. Florida, Todd Golden and his crew, analytics, it's fun. There is one name you need to remember, and if you're watching college hoops for the first time tonight, that includes a lot of you, Walter Clayton Jr. This guy is Jalen Brunson. This guy is having an NCAA tournament for the ages. He scored 34 points with 5 3-pointers the other night. He's hit big shots against UConn. You talked about that shot, the 3-pointer he made, which was in probability factor times 100. And Clayton continues to be the difference. This is a guy that transferred, obviously. He's with Patino at Iona. And this is a guy that transferred. He wasn't even on the NBA radar coming into, midway through the season into the SEC tournament. And now, if he's not yet, now I know he's 22, but if Walter Clayton Jr. isn't drafted in the first round, these NBA execs are freaking high. because this guy is so clutch and so good. And if you're Houston and a backer, like it sounds like you're going to be and I'm going to be as well, if you're a Houston backer, Walter Clayton Jr. scares the hell out of you.
Look, he's a closer. That's the bottom line. The guy just knows how to win, knows how to close. First player in the Elite Eight or later to have back-to-back 30-point games since Larry Bird. He's averaging 24.6 points per game in the tournament. I'm wondering if even if Florida loses, if he doesn't somehow win most outstanding player for the tournament tonight. That's how good he's been. I mean, this is Mateen Cleaves. This is Kemba Walker. This is Shabazz Napier. I'm trying to think. Tweet me at The Rap Radio, at Dustin Swedelson, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Radio, 888 Mad Dog 6. The last time you saw a college basketball player go on a heater like Walter Clayton Jr. is, tell me who it is, because he is on a different level right now than everyone else.
Yeah, he is. He's something else. They're a fun team to watch. I'm really excited.
It sucks it's going to end. It sucks it's going to end the way it is tonight, that they're going to lose.
Well, that brings us to we should back up and have that conversation. All we've done is bitch about this tournament. Did Saturday redeem it?
Here's what I'd say. You know how I know Saturday, just the late game redeemed everything? Because no one's talking about Bruce Pearl blowing an 8-point lead at halftime and losing by 6 against Florida. That's how good that one game was in a vacuum. And if we had to trade all those early games to get an all-timer like we got out of Duke and Houston, then I think this tournament has been salvaged. We got what we wanted at the biggest time in the sport, in the Final Four, the round that's the most hyped up. We talk more about Final Fours than national championships when we talk college basketball. That's how big Saturday was. So I'd say, yeah, that game, those two games, but more importantly, the late one, they saved this NCAA tournament.
The depth of Florida, the high-end shooting, their deep, tough front court, it's a legit basketball team. It just feels like, and we kind of clear, 2 Final Fours, now a final, 6 straight Sweet 16. It just feels like Houston, if you believe in destiny, if you believe in a team that once they get over that hump, Dustin, we're like that Final Four hump and the comeback against Duke. If you believe in momentum, which I do, but if you do believe in this concept of positive energy moving forward, the final minutes against Duke and hitting clutch free throws and obviously imposing will and forcing Duke, who were the favorites in the market. Everybody had Duke advancing. It was a 5.5 number. If you believe in that, a couple of days later, remember, this isn't like the week off. This is a couple of days later where Houston can't wait to get out there. It's going to be a Houston crowd. Nobody cares about Florida basketball. Let me be very clear. Billy, the concept that, and Gainesville is a great college town. It's a great football town. College basketball down in Florida, it doesn't really matter. That is going to be all Houston as far as the crowd, all Texas.
Well, think about this. How much of the ticket percentage was Duke fans up until they lost that game? Now, all of a sudden, those Duke fans need to unload all the tickets they bought ahead of time to be at the national title game. Who'd they lose to? They lost to Houston. Houston's campus happens to be 3 hours away from San Antonio. It lays out the perfect spot for Houston fans to completely take over and overwhelm the Florida fan base, because I don't see Florida fans making that trip. You're right. There is no fan base. You know who cares? The kids on campus at Gainesville. None of them are traveling to San Antonio. And I'm so happy you used the word destiny, because destiny is the theme when it comes to the Houston Cougars. I have plus 650 on them to win the title. I've wasted a lot of money on people named Destiny who dance on poles in clubs. Oh. I am not hedging my plus 650 on Houston because they're coming through with the win. Here's how I know.
Don't yell to make up for the stumble. Did you have that line prepared?
In my head, I didn't write it down, though.
Okay.
Here's what I'd say.
Go, please.
Yeah, I didn't think it all the way through. It just kind of came to me. But what I'd say is, I forgot to hedge the ticket against Duke. It was like minus 280. I didn't see it as being a good value. I was like, I'll wait for in-game. There was never a moment in-game where I could hedge on my Houston ticket. I spent that entire game thinking I wasted this money on plus 650 on Houston, and they end up winning in the final 3 minutes.
So you got 6.5, right?
Yeah, so it's destiny. It's absolutely destiny that they are supposed to finish the job now. Because the question is, I'll ask you this, sorry.
Please.
Do you believe there's an emotional letdown spot for Houston, the way they win it, the miraculous way they went about it? Do you believe that there is a bit of a letdown playing 2 days later against Florida?
I think it's the ultimate momentum, and I think they're riding high, and I think they're going to win tonight. And I'm not going to say I was going to say comfortable, but I just think Houston, I think this is their year. As far as whether or not kids are going to travel from Gainesville, I tried to get Starbucks today. That tariff is killing me, yo.
Don't check your 401k.
You think those kids can afford to travel to the freaking Alamo Dome? That macho is tariff. Now let's hey, good job. Let's talk about Cooper Flagg, because he is going to be the #1 overall pick. You would agree that the over the back was, part of my French, bullshit. Like, it's almost like the official really wanted to call that, and as soon as there was a movement on the rebound as far as the free throw, he couldn't wait to blow the whistle. Cooper Flagg didn't go over the back.
I would actually say that was coaching, and that was on Kelvin Samson, because Roberts completely sold it. He sold that
That's
right
fair.
away, and I think because it's such a tight part of the game, as you mentioned, as soon as the ref saw some movement, maybe didn't have the best angle, he thought that there was a foul. But I thought Roberts did a great job selling it, and he's not getting enough credit for it. No, it's definitely not a foul, but the way the Roberts made it look to the ref, I think I understand why the call was made.
So Flagg, I thought, was good in the game. The front rim, as he's an 18-year-old that's going to the NBA. He's going to be the #1 overall pick, and he's ready to play tomorrow. His game is NBA ready right now. Was he exquisite over the Final 10? He certainly wasn't. But I would put more of the blame on the surrounding cast and his head coach. Proctor was as tight as a freaking drum. The guard play was horrific from Duke, I think you would agree. And, yeah, I mean, maybe Flagg was a little – I don't know if you want to call it tentative. He deserved to take the last shot. He did front rim it. It was interesting Samson didn't choose to double him, if you noticed. And another thing about Samson, because since we're jocking him, let's jock him a little bit more. Samson refused to foul late.
Yes.
But he knew that was strategic. Like, remember when Belichick said he didn't take a timeout because Belichick didn't take a timeout because his punk ass froze in that Super Bowl. Samson wasn't following purposefully, concerted.
Well, because his team was prepared. He knew that was a bunch of kids that hadn't been tested. His team was fully prepared to press and do whatever they had to do, but they also had a plan. You could tell they didn't want to foul Flagg, and they didn't want to foul Kneppel. What they did was they fouled Proctor. And Proctor misses the free throw. They knew Proctor was the guy they wanted with the basketball, so they kind of converged on the other guys, forced the ball across half court. As soon as it's in Proctor's hand, they foul him. I thought it was brilliant coaching by Samson, because the coaching that happened for the Cougars happened before the game ever started. For Shire, he's having to draw. That team is not used to having to run sets out of timeouts. They're not used to close games. And instead, you have a team in Houston that's been through this before. They've gotten so close so many times, and they're a defensive-minded team. They had an answer for everything, and Duke just didn't have counters because they've never experienced this before.
Yeah, that's a good point. They were blowing everybody out. They went through a weak league in the ACC, and when they got pushed, they folded. And Houston, the complete opposite. And Samson, a masterclass. You'd love to see it for Samson.
Oh,
you'd love to see it for Samson. Right now, I'm looking at the market. Florida is a point, maybe a point and a half. However, some of those ones are juiced down. So we could be headed towards a pick'em by the time this tips off.
It hit a pick'em at some shops earlier today. The ironic part about Kelvin Samson winning a national title is, can you imagine the amount of text messages he's going to get tomorrow morning?
Yeah. Well, that he was on a 5-year suspension, the show cause. When he was suspended after texting kids at Indiana. Houston, he was coaching as an assistant in the NBA, and Houston called, and Samson said, you know what happens when you Google my name right now? And he was talking to the AD at Houston, and the AD was like, well, come to Houston. Let's rejuvenate your career. Let's rejuvenate the perception of you. And Samson has done just that. Samson has launched himself into all-time great category. And if he wins tonight, he is firmly in the conversation. I know you got your Woodens. I know you got your Coach K's. I know you got your Bill Selfs that have many more wins. But when it comes down to quality of coaching, Larry Brown's in the mix. Kelvin Samson is going to be in the mix.
Oh, absolutely. And we have to factor in how he's doing it in the era he's doing it as well, because he doesn't have Kentucky money. He doesn't have Duke resources, right? He doesn't have what North Carolina can offer you. He's in Houston in the Big 12, where it's not the Big 12 you used to know. And he's had to do it a more creative way where he brings in guys not dissimilar to what Tom Izzo does. They both want kids they can coach up, that they can be hard on, that understand what they're trying to develop there in Houston. And because of that, he's getting kids to stay 2, 3, 4 years there. And that's all the difference in the world. While everyone else is filling out a new roster every single year, we've gotten to know LJ Cryer. We've gotten to know Sharp. Like he's doing things in a different way than everyone else, where everyone else just is throwing money at kids. He's actually developing prospects.
Let's reset and get to your calls. 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-623-3646. Of course, VSiN Live on a Monday, National Championship 2025. The game, as compelling as it gets. You can find us on YouTube at VSiN Live. Stop by, jump in the chat, give us a follow, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate you. But if they say, and the adage is styles make fights, and if that's true, tonight is compelling. And again, old school, if you want to call it bully ball, the adage or the concept of grown men being on this Houston team, well, Juwan Roberts is in his 6th year. So that is very much a grown-ass man.
He can rent a car.
Yeah, when you talk about analytics or money ball, if that's what you want to say Florida is moving towards, which they absolutely are. You know, the concept now would be like the Bamas. You only want a three-pointer, you want a layup, or you want a free throw. That's called efficiency. But you really have a pretty efficient offense in Houston. I just wrote it down like this. With Florida, you have an elite offense, top 10 D. With Houston, you have elite defense, top 10 offense. So there is a bit of a contrast. Will the will of Houston break Florida like it did Duke? You would agree. Duke is better than Florida.
Yep.
If that's the case, Houston wins tonight. Samson cuts down the nets.
Houston held Duke, who we both agree was better, to under 40% from the floor on Saturday. Houston has the better defensive efficiency, number 1 versus number 9. Three-point shooting, number 1 versus number 70. And they take care of the ball better, 20 in turnover percentage versus 75th. It's a Houston home game. Everything points in the direction of Houston. In fact, I'm going to do this because we're offering that package over at VSiN.com. Become a pro now through August 1st for just $19. Use the promo code SIRIUS. I'll tell you a couple of tidbits I found on the VSiN website that I thought were absolutely tremendous today. The first one is Tyler Shoemaker. He runs an analytics. He runs analytics on all the games, college football, college basketball, men and women's. He has it 72-71 Houston. Josh Applebaum, who you hear on the show every Thursday, a great trend from him. Short dogs of 2 or less are 3-1 against the spread this March Madness. And a couple other things that point to Houston. Steve Makinen likes Houston. A bunch of other guys on the website like Houston. Trends point in that direction. VSiN.com, become a pro. Use the code SIRIUS.
Did you have a meeting today?
No, I had the proper amount of caffeine at the right time of the day.
Are you nervous about getting fired? Like the amount of plugging you've done in the first 26 minutes. If you'd like me to be involved, let me know, because Steve Makinen, Tyler Shoemaker. Are you sure you didn't have a meeting? Why wasn't I invited?
There is no meeting. No one speaks to me. They speak to you now. No one even comes to me. They just
who speaks to me? I got a contract up in July. I haven't heard shit. That's for you. 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-623-3646. No, there is a lot of great. I'm joking with them. There is great information. VSiN.com/subscribe. $158 right now. So we've laid it out. I mean, we didn't really disguise anything. We're both on Houston. Now, Dustin's on Houston because he played them before the tournament started at 6.5 to 1, forgot the hedgy poo, and now finds himself in a good situation. So he can have a little fun tonight. He can get a little creative. I think one's a gift. I love Houston in this matchup. The question you asked, do they have a letdown or does the momentum carry over? I think these are a bunch of dudes that are just like, I wish we played 10 minutes after that game wrapped up against Duke, because this is what we've been fighting for years.
Yeah, I think if you would ask Houston and you would say, well, what went wrong in the first 90% of that game against Duke? They would tell you nothing. We just knew when it mattered, they would blink and we wouldn't. That's it. We're just ready for any situation. We knew when there was crunch time, we would step up and make plays that mattered. I mean, just to go over real quick, the numbers of what the score was. Houston was down 14 with 8:03 to go. They were down 9 with 2:06 to go. They were down 6 with 34 seconds left, 3 with 25 seconds left, 1 with 19 seconds left. They went on an 11-1 run over the final 114. That all feels impossible. How many times have you watched games where teams are fouling to try and come back and win, and they don't even get close? Probably 99% of them. That was a 1% game we saw on Saturday night, but it all happened because Houston's prepared for any situation. And if we're going to be fair about Florida, best team coming into the tournament, they have had a lot of close calls since it started.
Yep.
UConn close call, Texas Tech close call, had to come back against Auburn where Janai Broome wasn't 100%. This is not the same Florida team that rolled through the SEC. And for Houston, I do believe the momentum carries over.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. If we have an opportunity, the NBA season does end on Sunday. You've got
Thank
10
God.
days. You got 10 days of the NHL regular season left. Ovechkin over the weekend passes the great one. We can discuss that. But really, this is going to be another 2.5 hours of this national championship game, because I think it's a matchup that matters. I think it's a matchup that has pop. It has a little flair to it. So let's get into it. 888-623-3646. We're on Houston. Who you got and why? It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson. covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. We got you back Monday, April 7. Just quickly want to let you know, tonight after the men's college basketball championship, join Chris Plank, I believe son-in-law of Coach K, good guy, plus
Nope.
Matt McCall.
Nope.
Not son-in-law?
Wrong, Chris. That's Spatola.
Oh, yeah. Chris Plank. Anyway, join
news to
Chris
him.
Plank and Matt McCall. McCall will do anything. And Dalen Cuff from San Antonio for college basketball overtime, recapping the game. Hear interviews with players and coaches, plus insight on the game on College Sports Radio Channel 84 and on the SiriusXM app. I don't know, Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. I don't know if losing Duke matters nationally as far as care. Like, I do think there's some juice with the Florida-Houston matchup. I think for me, most of the juice, to be honest with you, it comes from Houston as a whole and Walter Clayton Jr. as a one. Like, watching that kid continue as a guy that wasn't heavily touted and make ridiculously difficult shots and just kind of be the heartbeat of a team that goes deep. This is a very good, very well-rounded Florida team. But I think the build of Houston adds to this. Like, this is exciting to see the team get over the hump.
Yeah, Walter Clayton Jr., who ended up at Iona, transfers to Florida, hits a different gear, is a different kind of player. And you talked about it earlier. He's going to be an NBA pick. The fascinating part about him is he's refined. Like, he's ready to hit the ground running. So he's probably going to go, because of his age, like 11 or later? Which means there's a chance he goes to a playoff team. It can make an immediate impact. He's a fascinating player to watch. Also, I know there was a lot of sharp people betting his under today. And look, I love Houston as much as anyone. I understand the perimeter defense is crazy. They're super physical. They get in your shorts. I bet Walter Clayton over 19.5 points. I'm sorry. That number is too low for what he means to their offense. And if they're going to win this game, it's going to be because Clayton hits shots. I don't think they win, but I still think he's going to get plenty of buckets. 19.5 feels a little bit too low. And I think I saw DraftKings tweet out that his 21 plus points was their most bet prop at their app today.
Yeah, and we talked about the contrast in styles. Like, Florida, again, if you want to call it Moneyball, obviously have more money than Houston. One transfer that has made a difference is LJ Cryer, who I know we have it. Before we get to the calls, can we play Samson, clip 6, Naya, and Dustin? Because I want to hear Kelvin Samson talking about LJ Cryer, because I thought he was great in the game. He has been a difference maker because he's a guy that can create his own shot. He's that offensive go-to that Houston just hasn't had in the past, Dustin. So set this up if you're ready to go.
Yeah, so this is Kelvin Samson following the game, breaking down what his best player was able to do against Duke Saturday night.
JoJo, J1, JVR, I thought did a great job last night on the boards. But our best player, the guy that kept us in the game, was LJ. He kept us in touch with them. So when the time came, we had an opportunity to get the lead down where we could put some game pressure on him. LJ was the guy.
Before we get to the calls, can I hear Shire too? Because maybe I spent too much time crushing Duke. Duke just plays because it's Duke, and they've had so much success. You know, they just have had so many punchable players.
Oh, it's a list. It's a list.
Not
Grayson Allen, Luke
They're good for the
Kennard.
sport. Yeah, Christian Leitner, Cherokee Parks. We can go on and on. They're good for the sport because it's good to have a team, if you're not a fan of them, that you love to hate, because, you know, that is Duke. But I thought Duke was ill-prepared, and I thought they folded over the last 10, 11 minutes. Can we play Shire too, big guy? Because I want to hear what he said about that.
Yeah, John Shire after the game said, look, they thought they were ready for this and just kind of was at a loss.
Obviously, as a coach, I'm reflecting right now what else I could have said or done, and I'm sure there's a lot more that I could have done to help our guys, you know, at the end there. That's the thing that kills me the most, the amount of game situations we've watched this year. You know, we haven't had the real life experience all the time. But that's something I really felt we prepared for.
Yeah, that's what you said, Dustin. That, like they just hadn't been faced with what they were faced with against Houston late, and they folded when they were faced with it. And by the way, I thought the coaching folded as well. You have to call Larry Brown; he'll teach you inbounds plays. Like they were having issues getting the ball in.
No. They were the one steal. Well, there was one technical, right? Because Houston reached over the line, but then the other one. It was just incredible defense by Houston. It's almost like they knew exactly where the ball was going to go to and when. Tipped it out. The kid misses the three on the wing, but they got the putback, and that's what made it a one-point game in that spot. So the turnovers forced there because Duke didn't have something creative or a backup plan drawn up. I think that was the big thing. It felt like whatever Duke was ready to do, they didn't have a plan B if it wasn't there. They didn't know how to read what the defense was giving them, and instead they just rolled with whatever was diagrammed in the timeout, and that did them in.
And Samson not following and just being like, let them play.
They're ready. They're ready. They got
just
this.
But he also didn't do it because he knew Duke was imploding. So he didn't want to do him any favors.
They didn't
let
hit
him
buckets.
play it out. Let him play it out, you know?
Yeah, Duke couldn't score down the stretch. I'm trying to. What was the number? It was like 2 field goals in the final 10 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, they scored like 3 points in the final 10 minutes. Is that good?
Two field goals in the final 13 minutes, none in the final 3.
888-623-3646. Let's open up the phones. VSiN Live for the first time this week. Tony in Detroit, welcome.
Gentlemen, how we doing on National Championship Monday?
Are you fired up? Do you care about this matchup?
Oh, I'm 100% fired up. I'm telling you what, I had Florida and Houston in 5 different bets on Saturday and won all of them. And I'm with Dustin. I got Houston at 6-1 pre-tournament. And I think it was Randall on the other day. He said it, and Houston's been a little bit disrespected. Obviously, Duke had more talent, but they've been in games. They haven't lost in a few months. And it's kind of strange that, even tonight there's a lot of people going with Florida. So I tell you, I'm with Dustin. I'm not hedging anything. I don't know about you. But the rush and the juice for me is worth as much as the money. So I'm not hedging. I'm putting more money down on Houston. I already did. I'm staying with the Cougs. I'm rolling with them. I picked them pre-tournament. No hedge, all bets. And one thing, gentlemen, I hope we're going to get a little Masters pick going on this week. I need a couple guys. Yep. I need to throw a little shekels on. And, hey, Patrick, Casey Mize, and Torkelson are cooking, baby. What's up with that?
Take it easy. Take it easy. They are sitting atop the Tigers. The Kitty Cats are sitting atop the Central. And Casey Mize has started hot. We've been waiting for that. It's been 87 years since we've been waiting.
He's
for
older
that.
than Kelvin Samson at this point.
No, it is cool. We should give Randall credit because Randall did come on and say Houston was being disrespected. I will say this. I genuinely, and I was so wrong, I genuinely thought Duke was going to win by doubles. And with like 10 minutes to go, I thought I was pretty safe. Because that was just that. But the reason for saying that Houston was disrespected is the reason they won. So that was good prognostication if you thought that Duke would eventually fold in the face of a team that was composed like Houston. So I like that.
Yeah, so I'm not going to say that Duke wasn't as good as we thought they were because the ACC was down, but I think the ACC being down showed itself in the fact that they had never had to face a press like Houston late in the game. And on the other side, you look at Houston. It's not just that they've been through this like a couple years in a row with like the same core guys. It's more that this is a team that in hostile environments, I'll put the Big 12, like the Big 12 from a football perspective, not the old Big 12, but from a basketball perspective, some of the most hostile environments you're going to find, they went 10-0 on the road in the Big 12 this year. Their one loss in Big 12 play was at home, but they dominated on the road. They had to deal with everything all the elements that go into a hostile environment on the road, which had them more prepared for that moment than Duke was because of the conference play. And that's just something to file away for next year.
Yeah, I mean, they jumped into the Big 12 last year and won an outright league this year and just made the national championship game. It's Houston basketball. We're not talking about Texas.
No. No, they had to go into Kansas. They had to go to Lawrence. They had to go into Baylor. They had to go into Iowa State, which is a really difficult place to play. And they were awesome all year long. They didn't have a blemish.
No, it's incredible. It's a great story. Let's go to Dallas, speaking of Texas, and say hi to Christian here on VSiN Live. Hi, Christian.
Hey, Patrick, big guy. Thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it.
Of course.
Hey, so I was rooting for Florida because that's who I had winning my bracket. But now the person that's ahead of me as far as points go in my little thing we have going on, he has Florida too. So F him. Let's go Houston. It's about time that Kelvin Samson gets one. Yeah.
Well, I'll be pulling for I'll be pulling for you, Christian. It's good to hear from you. Let me just text. I don't know who Tori has. Let's just see. Did Tori say who he thought he was going to win? We're going to do the media roundup later.
Yeah, I didn't hear him say that. I didn't hear that part of the show, but we do have audio from all of the shows on Mad Dog Sports Radio prior to us with their takes on things. So we did accomplish that today.
Are we officially for media roundup bringing back the hot box?
I don't want to corner myself, but I think we are, because I will tell you, I think playing the clips gives it a little bit more juice. And if one thing we do on the show, we're about squeezing that juice. I don't know what that means, but I thought it sounded really good. It sounded really good.
Hey, I was pulling for you. It worked. It worked. Let's go to Orlando and say hi to JP. Hi, JP.
Hey, man.
Hey.
How are y'all?
Good, buddy. What's up?
Good. So I'm from Orlando, but I played baseball at Florida, so I'm a little biased. But I want to talk about something. I think, and I have them in my final bracket to win it, so I'll win $12,000 if they win tonight. And then I doubled it down last night and put another 1,000 on them when I saw it at -1.5. I should have got it at -1. But anyway, I just think that Florida has more depth, more size, and I think that they are so much a better team. And I know they've struggled in some of the games, but man, Houston shouldn't have won that game. You know that. They should not have won the game. That was
hold on. You're in a pool with your buddies and you got $12K on the line if Florida wins outright?
That's correct.
Look at
That's
you.
correct.
I don't want to pull against you. That's a nice little chunk of change, though, and you're feeling confident, JP.
And then I put another 1,000 last night.
So yes, I guess you are confident. You're very confident in your Florida Gators.
I'm very confident, and I'm a Gator. So again, I'm probably a little biased, but I just think as far as the size differential and the depth from the bench, I mean, we are very deep. And the Mad Nigerian, Condon, Magnan, Walter. I mean, we have so much talent on this team. And, I was listening to you in the car on the way home. And everybody's like, Houston? And I've sent all my friends, Gators rule, Houston who?
No, listen. I can show you the notes. We can put them up at VSiN Live. They don't make any sense. But I wrote down Florida. Here's what I said, big guy. Depth, high-end shooting, deep, tough front court. Like they don't have a weakness.
They have more size than Houston. Like they're a better team all around. I totally understand that. But if we're going to talk about gameplay, they're going to make this a brand of basketball that Florida's not comfortable playing. That's what they did to Duke. It's going to be ugly. If Houston wins, it's because they make this a mucked up, gross game where Houston is on their heels, they're confused, and they're not able to look like the high-scoring team that they are. It's not going to be pretty, but that's what Houston does. They want to drag you into the mud with them.
JP is the opposite of a hedger, by the way. He's got a free roll going into this, 12K, Florida. So what you would generally do is try to mitigate or try to, hedge a little bit, go the other way. So if Houston wins, you assure yourself of some sort of a profit. He said, F that. He put another $1,000 out on Florida.
Yeah, his name's JD. I'm sure. I don't know why his nickname's not Double D, because he's double downing on the Florida Gators here. It was stupid, but it came up in my brain. It happened.
What was the one earlier? It's
Destiny?
Like, I think I used the word destiny, and literally anybody that knows Dustin was like, well, he's not going to be able to let that one go. Patrick just literally used a word, and that has to be a stripper. So.
Yeah, I'm like Martin Brodeur in his prime. If you're going to drop something like that, it's not getting past me.
5-hole?
She did go 5-hole. That cost extra.
Yeah, so I've been helping the guy with some assists here over the past 30 seconds, and we're all worse for it. 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-623-3646. Really the handicapping because if we talk about the depth, the high-end shooting, the deep, tough front court, the deeper team, they go 10 deep. We're handicapping vibes in Houston, people. We're handicapping vibes right now. And Houston's a very talented team. Let's not pretend like they're not. Their defense is outrageous.
So I'm looking at VSiN.com/picks, where all the shows at VSiN, all the experts, the writers, they submit their picks. I was a little bit nervous that I was going to see everyone's on Houston. It's pretty split. It's about 50-50. People backing Florida, people backing Houston, people on the over, people on the under. You know what that means? This game is impossible to figure out, and it should be a good one because we have an even number of people on each side and each end of the total, which means this should be an epic game.
It should be. I hope it is. We got Root at the top of the hour?
Mm-hmm. Yep, live from San Antonio.
Yeah, our buddy Jim Root, our college basketball insider, he's there. He was there for the Final Four, so we'll get vibes from the other two over the weekend and then get us set up for the national championship game. Well, to be honest with you, I love the start time because I can watch the second half once we get off the air. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can actually enjoy the basketball game.
I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of the East Coast. It feels a little late because I don't believe people on the West Coast really work real jobs. I think everyone on the West Coast tends to leave work by like 3:30 every day. So they could have done this at like 4:45. Maybe an hour earlier would have been better. That's
888-623-3646 will continue. So the big guy and I are on Houston. JP's $13,000 on Florida. Who do you have? It is VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Welcome back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, yeah, Dustin said it. We got the coverage over at VSiN.com, and right now, this is the best time to sign up because you can get for $19 everything we offer through August 1st. So you get all the picks for tonight's national championship game, and then moving forward, you get a daily email with all the best bets from hosts and guests, exclusive betting splits, DraftKings Circa, Kentucky Derby betting guide, which is going to be awesome, NFL betting guide, which is going to be awesome, draft guide. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe. You got to use the promo code SIRIUS to unlock the special offer. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Maher. Let's get back to the calls because we're talking Houston and, of course, Florida. Florida, point and a half in the market. That's coming up at 5:50 my time. So that'd be 6, 7.
Yep.
Yeah, 8:50-ish your time on the East Coast. Hopefully it tips off on time. San Antonio, apropos of what's happening tonight. And we say hi to Mark. Hi, Mark.
Hey, guys, what's going on? I'm thinking after Sears dropped, 40, and they were 52%, I think, from the three-point line when they played BYU. Following game, they took a big dump against Duke. That's kind of what I'm seeing tonight with Houston. I think they may have blew their load after that emotional win. But, guys, I think I'm going to ride the Ken Pom stat because, according to him, Florida has to win. They have to win according to the past 25 years. Week 6 AP poll, 25 years in a row, the winners come from the top 10 of the Week 6 AP poll. And the only one that's left on that list of top 10 is Florida. Houston wasn't on there. So I think I'm triple dog downing because of that Ken Pom stat.
Triple dog down. Triple dog
Well, I
dare
have
you
to.
You got to do it. Triple dog dare you to triple dog down. What did Ken Pom say about tonight's game? Do you have it?
I thought he had it a 1-point win for Houston last I looked. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but let me see what I have in my notes.
You know what? Before even looking, I bet you he's got Houston winning. I know it's a 1-point game either way. Ken Pom, of course, who is the GOAT when it comes to college basketball analytics. And remember what he said about this tournament, about these teams. He had the 4 in the Final Four going back to 96. Analytics. You know, that word often gets people pissed off, but just by the numbers, these 4 teams were 4 of the best teams, 4 of the top 10 teams going back to 96 by the numbers. So that's just something to note. You got it there?
My Ken Pom subscription's up because it's the national title game. I did not renew. Let me see. Josh Applebaum, VSiN.com, referenced it in his article today. That's where I saw it, I believe.
Well, I got it right here. Hold on.
No, he didn't. You have it? Because I don't. He has. Ken Pom actually has Houston winning the game straight up 72-71. That's what it is.
72-71. So let's think, what's the total? Let's see. So he's got it 143. And what do you have on the total tonight?
Well, it's down to 140 and a hook. It opened 142. I bet under 140 and a hook, so that doesn't look great there. But he does have Houston winning it by 1. They're catching 1, so either side there.
So Ken Pom's got an outright winner for Houston in the over.
Yes.
We shall see. We shall see. Okay.
I just hope he's right about 1, and that's Houston.
My man JP down in Florida doesn't. He's got 13,000 on the line with it.
No, but you really know why now I need Houston to win. I don't want to hear from these guys again. Talking smack.
Hear from who?
I hear from JD and the last caller that our Houston bet lost.
Yeah. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. Jim Root is live at the Final Four, and he joins us next here, VSiN Live.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, it is VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. I'm Patrick Maher, live from Los Angeles. The big guy at the SiriusXM studios at the Wynn in Las Vegas. I clown the big guy a lot, but he does look tremendous there. That studio is a great layout. He's got the black with the black background, wearing a slimming shirt. It looks good. He's got the crew, John, Brian, Jeremiah, Antoine, all there. No need to flex. No need to flex. We'll get the flexing from Houston and Florida tonight. It's a 1-point number, and we're going to be joined now by Jim Root, our college basketball insider, three-man weave, and the athletic college basketball writer at Second Chance Points on Twitter. Our buddy Jim was in the building, Alamo Dome, on Saturday, and here's where we're going to start, Jim. It's good to hear from you. You tweeted this out. I've never been more shocked by an outcome. I'm completely flabbergasted. My hands are shaking. I'm guessing you're talking about the Houston comeback?
Very much so. Yes, that would be the official the ruling there. I mean, I was stunned. Basically, the entire game, it felt like Duke was going to take care of business, even if Houston got to hang around and made a little bit of a comeback. With a minute left, I thought to myself, like, at least it's going to look close on the final score, even if Houston never had a chance to win. And then the final minute happened, and suddenly Duke's done, and Houston's moving on. And, yeah, I was not kidding about shaking. I held my hand up, and it was just vibrating. I couldn't believe what we saw.
If you were going to identify the biggest reason why the game ended the way it did, what would you point to?
Ooh, that's a great question. Houston's 18 offensive rebounds was probably the biggest thing. Like, I worried about how Houston would score against Duke's defense. First shot offense, they really struggled. Like, they weren't getting very good looks in their half-court offense, but they just went after the boards, which was surprising because Duke is a pretty good defensive rebounding team, and they're basically the biggest team in the entire country, so not a team you think is very beatable on the offensive glass. But Houston's just relentless, and they got after it. Multiple different players were getting after it, and they got a bunch of second-chance points. And Kelvin Samson talked about it after the game. He's like, who cares if you get an offensive rebound and score versus run a beautiful set and get a layup? It's 2 points either way. And that's kind of their philosophy, and getting all those second chances is eventually what I think undid Duke and just wore them down.
Our buddy Jim Root, he's live at the NCAA Final tonight. Of course, college basketball was there, Final Four on Saturday. So let's back up to Saturday, Jim. Tell us about the experience, and then we can get a take on Walter Clayton in Florida and Auburn, but just paint the picture of what it was like there on Saturday.
Just an electric atmosphere. I mean, there's really nothing like Final Four Saturday. If anybody's never been, I would encourage going. We're just walking around San Antonio. You've got all four fan bases with full-throated belief that they are going to win the title. You know, they're all one seeds. All these teams are amazing all season long. They've all won championships already. And so you just had such a hype atmosphere. And then the games end up delivering. You know, we're in the arena. We're hoping that we're going to get good games after a tournament that's kind of been lacking in really tight battles down the stretch. And we get these two incredible games from the four best teams in the country. It lived up to every ounce of hype, and the atmosphere, I couldn't believe it. It just loud from, start to finish, both games. Houston fans really stayed in it despite, not really having a lead for basically that entire game. And Auburn, Florida was so back and forth that you just had both fan bases going at it the entire time. So I was extremely lucky and happy to be here and see it. And probably the lasting image of the night was the sad Duke student fans piling out of their section and all the Houston fans like waving them goodbye and filming them. And I think they were as shocked as we were that the game had ended like that with how it had played out for the first 39 minutes.
How about the early game, Jim? Because it feels like with the way Houston Duke went down, like Auburn is off the hook a little bit, but they were up at the half. Janai Broome looked good, and then all of a sudden things didn't go right in the second half, and he looked more banged up. What were your takeaways from how Florida took care of Auburn in the end and came back in the second half to win?
Yeah, just a lot more physicality from Florida in the second half. I think they kind of got punked in the first half. Auburn was taking it to them in the paint. They shot, I think, 13 for 18 from 2 in the first half. And, you can't give up over 70% inside the arc. That's too many layups, too many dunks. Felt like everything Auburn was getting was relatively easy. And Florida was having to work a lot more in the second half. They came out. They kind of joked about it in the post-game presser, just how much their staff challenged the bigs at halftime. And challenge is probably the light word, and not quite saying what was actually said. But they were much more physical with Broome. They didn't let Auburn get all the way to the rim. They're shooting over the top, taking tough shots, tough fadeaways, tough floaters, instead of laying it in and getting dunks. Other than that one Broome alley-oop to Cardwell that almost brought the house down here. It was a struggle for Auburn to score. They had 12 points in the first 12 minutes of the second half. Just couldn't really find ways to buckets, and Florida was taking advantage, which was surprising because it seemed like if Florida was going to win, it was going to be more up-tempo. But they kind of beat Auburn at their own game, a little more half-court, and were able to execute and get the shots they wanted while taking away what Auburn wanted to do down the stretch. So I think it was an impressive display of resilience from Florida. Obviously, Clayton is just the offensive star, the one you got to focus on. But the entire team, I think, Will Richard had a big and one when they were down 9 early in the second half that started things. Houck hit a big 3. Chinyelu had a couple big stops defensively. They all contributed, and it was a really impressive performance and gets us where we are tonight with 2 great teams, basically a -1 pick 'em or so line.
Yeah, let's pick it apart before we say goodbye to our college basketball insider, Jim Root, 3-man weave, the Athletics. So let's just start with the matchup. I think it's a great matchup. I'm so excited to watch it. Houston, Florida a point, maybe a point and a half at a couple of shops. When you just look at the matchup on paper, where do you start with your handicap?
The first thing I think that jumps out to me is how's this game going to be played pace-wise. This is 2 teams that are a pretty big stylistic clash. Florida loves to run. Even though they play 2 true bigs, they want to get up and down, get shots early, have their big guys rim run and score early in the clock. And Houston is all half court. They want this to be a grind. They want to minimize the amount of possessions and have long possessions. They take the shots and they get an offensive rebound, and they'll wait another 15 seconds to shoot. And if it's played at Houston's pace, I would think that would favor them. I mentioned Florida seemingly winning at Auburn's pace on Saturday, but Houston's just so good at the half-court game, the physical, making you execute against their set defense, that if Florida is not able to get out and run, I think that's going to end up favoring Houston. And so I'm keeping an eye on that early. I'm going to try to see what the pace is like. But I just from a gut sense, based on the way I think it will play out, I do lean the Cougars in a more half-court struggle.
How about expectations for Walter Clayton? Because he's out of his mind right now, Jim. 24.6 points per game in this tournament. He's obviously the straw that stirs the drinks for the Gators. He's facing, though, a defense in Houston that's super physical. What are your expectations for how the Cougars are going to defend him? Do you think Clayton goes off?
I think it might be more of a passing night for Clayton. Just if they're going to try to run things through him, whether it's dribble handoffs or ball screens, Houston likes to hedge and trap and really get the ball out of the hands of the lead ball handler. You go back through Houston's matchups, and it's been a while since an on-ball guard really went off against them. Braden Smith had, I think, 7 points on 7 shots. Zakai Ziegler really struggled, didn't get many shots off. Duke's on-ball guys last night, or 2 nights ago, Proctor and Sion James, I think had 14 points combined on 17 shots combined. It's tougher for those guys, the lead ball handlers, to get shots off just because they're throwing 2 defenders at them. They want to force somebody else to beat them. And, maybe that leads to, look at the assist prop for Clayton, which I know has been bet really hard. I think it's like minus 205 for him to go over 3.5 assists right now. But it makes sense to me in the way I believe that Houston's going to try to guard him. And maybe they'll run more stuff through Elijah Martin so that Clayton is the guy off the ball who's catching the skip pass or, playing against the rotating defense that's going to have to close out on him, and that's where he's super deadly. But if the ball's in his hands, I think Houston's going to make a really concerted effort to get it out of his hands and make someone else beat them as the playmaker.
Before we get your prediction, Jim, tell us what you think about the crowd tonight. Is it going to be Houston because of proximity? What do you expect in the building?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say they're expecting, big Houston crowd because it is close enough, and even people that weren't here Saturday can come in town and get here kind of last minute Sunday, Monday. But I will say, as I've been around the Riverwalk yesterday and especially today, it felt like a lot of Florida people. Maybe it's the blue and orange stands out a little more than just a classic red T-shirt, but I felt like I was seeing a ton of Gator fans. I haven't gotten a great sense for it. I just went out to my seat right before we hopped on the call here, but I feel like it's going to be closer to 50-50 and not super tilted towards Houston, which, considering how even the two teams are, I think I like that we're going to have a relatively even crowd as well.
All right, well then how about the prediction? Florida's laying 140 and a hook is the total. If you had to give me a lean on both the side and the total, where are you going?
Yeah, probably a stronger lean on the total. I think under is going to be a fairly strong play because of the pace, as we talked about earlier. I think Houston's going to keep it slower. And then just, a small part of the handicap, like they've got arguably the three best refs in the game that are super experienced in Final Fours. I think they're all in at least their seventh Final Four. So I don't think they're going to overcall things. I don't think they're going to be super whistle happy, which keeps guys off the free throw line, lets defenders get into you a little bit more. The physicality should help Houston. And I think it will be slow. I'm hoping there's going to be some early shot making where I can find a live under to jump on, something a little bit above the pregame line if it starts out 8-5 in the first 3 minutes or something. I would love to see that, but definitely a lean to the under. And that's for the side. Man, I've gone back and forth basically the entire day. Yesterday I spent processing what happened Saturday, and then today thought more and more about the game. I think I'm going to officially predict Houston, but man, if I feel that way, it's 52-48 in my head percentage-wise. I think both teams have got routes to success. They're both extremely well coached. I think they're going to have fantastic game plans, and both coaches know how to adjust at halftime. Both teams were the better team in the second half on Saturday, so we'll see if either one's able to gain an upper hand with adjustments in this one. But slight lean to Houston, and then just here in the building hoping for an epic game.
Well, enjoy it, Jim. You've done a great job. Jim Root, three-man weave, the athletic college basketball writer at Second Chance Points on Twitter. You worked hard. You deserve it. So enjoy the national championship game tonight. We appreciate it.
Much appreciated, guys. Thank you for having me, and enjoy the game.
Yep, absolutely. There goes our buddy Jim Root, who does a great job. We've had tremendous coverage, whether it be Randall, Jim Root covering college hoops. Dustin, it's how do I say it? People that care about college basketball, they care a lot. It's almost like my horse racing friends.
Thomas Gable too. My point would be is they're necessary. Because we're not watching these games in October and November when NFL's happening. But these dudes love college hoops so much, they're locked in from when the time it starts. They kind of give us a crash course over like January and February to get us ready for March every year. They are so necessary for us to do our jobs, to know what's happening, because it's impossible to keep up with that sport, and they dedicate their lives to it. Jim Root right now on his Twitter, you have to pay like $20 for it. He has analysis of every single transfer in the portal for all 364 Division I programs right now. Like, that's how you have to cover the sport of college basketball right now. You have to be locked in year-round, and as guys announce they're going to a different school, how does that affect next season?
Yeah, for those that don't know, the three-man weave kids, or men, Jim Root and two of his buddies, were just the biggest college hoop heads, I believe, in college. And they said, hey, maybe, a dream would be to make a career off of it. They dedicated themselves and have become very reputable in the broadcast space as go-to college basketball guys. And so you give them credit. It's not, I wouldn't even say it's a niche sport, but it's just a sport where it's almost like there's a few sports when people are into it, they kind of block out all other sports and just dedicate themselves to that one sport. And college hoops is weird like that. It's cultish.
And from a betting perspective, it is the one where it feels like you find out if someone's really a bettor by if they bet college basketball. Like, that to me is the true, because I know of guys, a guy who I'll explain in the break. I don't want to give out too much information. He literally bets like MAC unders the whole month of October, November. That's all. MAC first half unders. I'm not talking about Bowling Green MAC. I'm talking about MAC with the extra A in the middle, like Marist and Niagara in that league that nobody pays attention to. Like, I know that you are a true DGen if you bet college hoops. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, college hoops and college football. The professional bettors can find inefficiencies in the softer markets, and even as popular as the two sports are, they're still much softer as far as market than the professional sports. You can specialize in smaller conferences where you're going to even find softer numbers to bet into. So, yeah, the MAAC would certainly constitute softer numbers in a softer league as far as betting. We talked about it on Friday. It's like coming into this, Houston, Florida, the Auburn, Florida game, I kept on just repeating myself that I couldn't delineate. To me, I relied on you for Florida and Auburn because I just couldn't kind of parse out the differences. And when they went to the break, with Auburn up and then Florida coming back to beat them, it did feel like it was just two teams just throwing heavyweight blows at each other. The way that Houston and Duke turned out was much more dramatic. It's like everything played to script, and then the disrespect and the grown men aspect of Houston took over, and the lack of experience absolutely affected Duke. But with Florida and Auburn, Dustin, there was just, to me, it was just bad. There was no difference.
Well, what happened was major second half adjustments from Golden, specifically on defense. So they were down 8 at halftime. They win by 6. I thought their defense on the perimeter and their rebounding just took over in the second half. They shut Janai Broome down at around the 15-minute mark. I don't think he scored after the 15-minute mark in the second half, after he was really good in the opening half of the game. That was huge. They're big stepped up defensively, but they made the perimeter really difficult for Auburn. Auburn actually got a lot of looks from 3, but guys for Florida closed or made it like a difficult angle right before the shot, and I thought they did a great job there because Auburn, unable to hit threes when they were trailing late, that was the difference in the game.
Golden, we have to give him credit because hasn't he made big time halftime adjustments
Texas
a few
Tech?
times? That's right, Texas Tech. That's the game I was thinking about.
UConn was a tight game, but they should have lost the Texas Tech game. They had no business winning that.
They were getting killed.
When Clayton hit that shot, I think it was still like an 8-point game or something. It might have been a 10-point game when he hit that shot that I loved. But it was still a game that Texas Tech should have found a way to close. No, Golden is elite. I can't remember who we had on that I asked about Golden when they realized he was special. He's good at drawing up X's and O's. While we both love Kelvin Samson, Todd Golden is an elite X's and O's head coach. He's not going to get caught like John Shire did, where John Shire kind of fell victim to what did Coach K in the end. Why Coach K couldn't win titles with guys like Zion and RJ Barrett and these loaded rosters late. Sometimes he just relied, Nick Sirianni, less thinking, talent take over. And unfortunately for John Shire, the talent couldn't take over because the coaching was better on the other end. I think Todd Golden's aware that his Florida team's good talent-wise, but they're not good enough for him to just rely on their talent. He's got to get creative here, and he's shown going back to San Francisco, he's a pretty creative head coach.
Yeah, down 8 at the break. You mentioned Tech. That's the game I was thinking of, Texas Tech. That is a true hallmark of a good coach, is making adjustments and motivation. So obviously, if you're down big at the break, you're making adjustments, and then the motivation is key there. So you have to give Golden credit. We've had fun with the concept that, it's odd. The situation, to be fair, that went down in Florida is freaking weird. And he must be a brilliant coach to stick around through that controversy is all I'm going to say.
Now that we're talking about them playing Texas Tech, playing Auburn, we should talk about the paths, because I think these two teams were really pushed and challenged when it came to the tournament. First, we'll do Florida, because the Houston path is absurd when you think about the coaches that they had to beat to get here. But after taking care of Norfolk State in the first round, they then have to take on the two-time defending champs in UConn, Florida. They followed that up with Maryland. While Maryland had stuff going on away from the court, a super talented starting 5. Then it's Texas Tech, as you mentioned, they're trailing. They come back to win, and then they beat the number 1 overall seed in Auburn. That is a hell of a path for this team to go through to get to the championship game here.
Norfolk, UConn, that was tight. Maryland, the Willard stuff kind of overshadowed the game, but you're right, the starting 5 was tremendous. Texas Tech, we're getting beat, give Golden credit. And Auburn getting beat, give Golden credit. Yeah, well, give me the other path. I like this. What's the path?
This is an all-time path when you just think about coaches. I can't remember who they beat in the first round, but then second round, Gonzaga. So Mark Few, who all he does is go to Sweet 16s, and Gonzaga was in that game offensively, and Houston just pulled away in the end. Then Purdue, Matt Painter, who was in a Final Four a year ago, Tennessee and Rick Barnes, who plays a physical style of basketball, very similar to Houston. You kind of thought maybe they had a chance because they wanted to play the same style of fight against Houston. And then Duke, who according to Ken Pom and all the analytics, it's an all-time team, one of the greatest of all time on both ends of the floor, and now they're going to face Florida in the title game.
All right, I'm going to say it right now, and it solidifies why I love Houston. That's the much tougher path.
So battle-tested.
Tennessee is freak. People can say what they want about Barnes. If you watch Tennessee, they're so relentless, and the way Houston manhandled them is
took their soul.
Pretty remarkable.
No, Houston took their soul from the jump. They didn't know what hit them. They didn't have a plan offensively, and they out-physicaled a very physical team. This path is crazy. Mark Few, Matt Painter, Rick Barnes, John Shire, Todd Golden, you're next.
Gonzaga, Purdue, Tennessee, Duke that's something. They beat the best team.
A run.
They beat the best team in the country and maybe the hardest working team, Tennessee, in the country. Yeah. That's
an elite
that's
shooting
crazy.
team. Also, an elite shooting team in Purdue where they had to step up in crunch time and make a big play. So both these teams have been on the brink of getting eliminated here during the dance, and they both found a way to overcome. I'll still stand by the inbound, whether it's Samson who called it or the kid who called it on his own. The inbound against Houston to go back to the passer is one of the all-time plays I've ever seen watching basketball.
Yeah, I don't know. That's one of those plays where you saw it happen. It seems so commonsensical. You're like, why hasn't anybody tried this before? But
it was like,
Calvin,
it was like
he's brilliant.
It was like the torpedo bat. It was like, why hasn't anyone thought of doing something different with the baseball bat?
Yeah. You mean more wood? Settle down, Dustin. Just leave it alone. Just
they have pills for that.
Hymns.
Sponsor us. I'll do promos.
You
will
will
give me money. Just give me the pills.
He will, people. Trust me.
Hair loss products too.
We'll get to I'm sure we can get to the bald cam here coming up in a little bit. Dustin hanging out at the studios, the SiriusXM studios at the Wynn in Las Vegas, which are gorgeous. We appreciate the fellas over there. Here's Tori. Tori's going with the momentum angle. I said, who you got tonight? He said, I'm all in on Houston now. And I said, me too. He said, I love Clayton. This is Tori. I love Clayton, but is Houston going to not win it now after what they pulled off? So he's going with the momentum as well. I agree. The concept of a letdown for Houston, I don't think that if Florida beats them, Florida's just a better team. Because here's what I'll say. Houston has no excuses. They're in the perfect spot. You just had the most dramatic comeback since 84 in your program's history. Remember, 83, 84, they went to back-to-back finals, lost both. All right? They just had the most dramatic comeback. That should have your team absolutely flying coming into the finals here. That's it. No excuses.
I'm not buying the emotional letdown because I just think they're built different. And we said that from the beginning. Actually, I should give you credit. You're the one who kept talking about Houston way before the tournament even started, where you were just hyping them up, and it finally got in my head enough where I said, if I don't have a bet on this team, because it wasn't that I loved Houston, is that I thought the number was mispriced. There was no way they should have been almost double the odds of Duke and Florida when this thing began, when we had Ken Pom on the show right before this thing started, and he said, from an analytical perspective, they are right there with Duke and Auburn as two of the best teams he's seen in a long time. So that's why I bet it there. But I'll always come back to Houston's built different mentally. You can talk about basketball, you can talk about three-point shooting, you can talk about defending the three. I just think Houston is built to find a way, and that's what they did against Duke, and I think they're going to do it again tonight.
I can't really take that much credit because, to be fair, this is the same thing for like the past 5 or 6 years I've said about Houston. But this year I just added that they're a better offensive team than they've been the last 6 years.
Well, they have an offense.
Pryor, Sharp, Roberts, Uzan, like they're a very good offensive team.
No, this is like if Iowa football ever had a quarterback. That's what Houston is. If Iowa football ever embraced the forward pass, that is what Houston basketball has become. Let's hear from Kelvin Samson after the game. What'd you say to the team when you were down 13 late?
And I felt like if we could just hang in there, even when we were down 14, I think these guys will tell you what I was talking about in the huddle. was just hang in there. And I thought if we get it down to single digits, get it down to around 5.
I love a good redemption story, too.
Oh, yeah.
And the Kelvin Samson redemption story would be immaculate. Like I told you, if you missed it earlier, he had a show cause penalty for 5 years when he was at Indiana. This is when texting, I guess, was first. Like, you couldn't text players.
No,
so,
and he probably had to hit like the same button 3 times to get the letter that he wanted on the phone. That's how old it was.
Yeah, he definitely was working with a razor. You know what I mean? Remember when we used to have to do that to get to like the tee? You had to hit the 8 like 7 times. That was ratchet. But so he got suspended. He had to go to the NBA, just be an assistant. And then Houston came calling. Houston wasn't a big-time program. They're in the AAC. He just literally wanted to rehab his image and coach basketball again. He had the Indiana job. The Indiana job, let's be fair. It's North Carolina, as far as prestige. So North Carolina, Indiana, Duke, if you want to throw them in the mix. But those are the big-time programs, and he had the job, and then he was fired. But Samson, whether it be Oklahoma, wherever, has always won, and he's 69 years old now, and it's literally the ultimate redemption story for, by all accounts, a really good dude.
Yeah, we're going to play a clip in a little bit. I just sent it tonight. It might take a minute or a segment or two to get it in the system, but I had a beat writer from Houston on because I wanted the perspective yesterday when I was hosting on VSiN. Like, what does this mean for Houston? Where do they stand? Because it's been an awesome run of late, but this program almost didn't exist, it felt like, for about, 25, 30 years there. No one was thinking about Houston basketball. He showed up. They changed the way they approached it. They invested resources into it. And now it feels like every year we're going, you know what? Houston might be the toughest team in the country. That's the one thing you can say year after year. Different players over the last 4 or 5 years, but the toughest team in the country, the answer has always been the Houston Cougars. And I mean, that's just a testament to him, but also that school wanting to be good again and giving him a chance.
The previous coaches, James Dickey was there for 4 years.
I don't know who that is.
Kelvin Samson. I genuinely don't know who James Dickey is.
I've never heard of that person. James Dickey.
Oh, he
I
coached
need a bio
at Texas
now.
Tech for 10 years from 91 to 2001. Sorry, James Dickey. I got no file.
Is he related to R.A. Dickey? That's the question.
No. Good trade. Tom Penders was there. Now, that was Tom Penders on the back end of his
Tom Penders.
But that was him on the back end of his career.
Yeah.
04 to 10, because he had been at Texas for a long time. So your boy Tom Penders was there. Ray McCollum was there for 4 years. Clyde Drexler was there for 2 seasons. Clyde the Glide went 19-39. I mean,
Clyde Drexler coached college basketball back at Houston? Why don't I remember this?
He did. Clyde the Glide. He coached. Let me just see. Has he coached anywhere else? I don't think he's coached.
They probably had no money, and they were like, hey, man, instead of donating, can you just coach us for free?
Drexler coached the Cougs 98, 99, 99, 2000, 19-39 is 2 seasons. He decided to resign to spend more time. Oh, the old spend more time with the family. If he was 39-19 and not 19-39, that family doesn't exist, people.
You know who's never doing that? Todd Golden. Because basketball's an excuse to be away from the family, if you know what I mean. Those late nights watching film.
If he had the Razor flip phone, that would have been way inefficient for what he's trying to accomplish.
No. Wait. Although he would have had MySpace to work with back then. He would have been on MySpace.
Yeah, he would have. And Napster.
And his family's in his top 8, but that's not who he's messaging.
No. I mean, the Golden story is kind of great. We're making light of it. And
multiple girls accused him of stalking them. That's it.
Yeah.
Multiple girls accused him of stalking.
No. Can we be safe space? Like, he might be a psycho.
Yeah, he might be just a bad, creepy guy.
The stories are crazy.
Yeah, great basketball coach. Creep. At 100%, no doubt, creep.
Yeah. I think, you know what?
I'm sorry, I'll leave a little bit of
Both can be true.
Yeah, 99% creep.
But I think you're right. Both can be true. He could be a great basketball coach. He could just be a horrifically weird person that needs some therapy. And listen, I like the fact that you put 99% on it, but there's many accounts of the stalking and weird behavior towards co-eds at Florida from multiple women. So we got to leave a little room that he was completely exonerated, but for the most part, where there's smoke, there's crazy fire with that situation.
Yeah, and I'd also point out, I believe the University of Florida is the one who did the investigation, and I think they probably control the narrative a bit there.
Put it this way. If it was Tom Penders texting the girls, he'd be out.
Yeah.
I know you're a big Penders guy, so I don't want to disrespect.
I like him because he gets loose, and in his later years, he likes to bet on these games.
That's true.
That's why I like him.
But what we're trying to say is, if he wasn't a brilliant outside-the-box thinker as a head coach that's won basketball games and is going to win potentially national championships at Florida, based on what Golden did, he'd be gone. Facts.
No doubt.
They wouldn't even need to do an investigation if he wasn't a great coach.
No, they would fire him first and let that hang over and let all the negative stuff get out there and go, look, more and more is coming out, and push him out the door. But because they think he's a great coach, they did what they did and swept it under the rug.
You're right. They would have fired him so they could look like, look how moral we are as a university. Instead, they said, let's do an investigation because this guy's going to win a boatload of basketball games and potentially national championships.
And you know what? Look how moral we are. We're the only pregame show right now in America discussing the shadiness of that coach.
Be honest with you, I think it's a story. I think it's insane that he's still the coach there.
I think that they're going to celebrate him if they cut down the nets tonight like he's a hero and he has this going on. And by the way, it's not like it happened 10 years ago. It just happened.
Oh, it literally just happened. But anyway, now we could separate it because that's what we do. Great coach. And we just talked about the fact that he's made those halftime adjustments. He did it again against Pearl and Auburn. So remove the personal stuff. On the wood, Golden can coach his ass off.
I don't know if I'd use the word wood, but yeah.
You know what I'm saying, though. So let's get your predictions. We're going to keep going with the college hoops. 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-623-3646. Remember, you can stream us. The big guy's got the chat going on YouTube at VSiN Live. On YouTube, you want to watch and get involved with the show. It is VSiN Live. This is Mad Dog Sports Radio.
On Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Welcome back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, the big guy, Dustin Swedelson. I'm Patrick Maher. We do have that clip ready to go. Who is it discussing Kelvin Samson? And by the way, we had a loser call in and say that we're going too hard on Golden. We went too easy on Golden. He was not just charged with stalking people. He was charged with sexual harassment, sexual exploitation, and stalking. Now, Florida investigated, and it was cleared.
Yeah.
Sexual harassment, sexual exploitation, and stalking by multiple women.
He was taking pictures of women and sending it to them, liking their photos so they would give him attention, then unliking so he wouldn't get caught. Like, he had a system in place for how he started this process. He's 39 years old. He's my age, and he's doing this to 18 to 22, 23-year-olds. It is creepy AF. Like, I'm sorry.
One woman, just random. One woman told, and again, we'll focus on the basketball, but because we've got legit weird losers, I'll have to explain. One woman, a Florida student, told the Alligator that Golden stalked her in his car and on foot more than 10 times, and also sent unsolicited photos of his genitalia. And again, let me reiterate. We didn't go hard enough. We will go back to the basketball, but I am ashamed of myself for not going harder on Tom Golden.
Yeah,
whatever his name is.
Todd Gold. It's first of all, how is that not like there has to be legal precedent on that? You can't just do that. You can't just send.
But when you're watching the basketball game tonight, remember he was sending co-eds pictures of his Bozak.
Yeah.
Without the girl being like, "Let me get."
Yeah, no, there's no interest
Allegedly.
There's no interest. Yeah, allegedly. No interest involved. But let me get the conversation started. Like, some people, like, what's a good pickup line? By the way, he's married. What do you go up to a girl and say? Hey, you have pretty hair. No, he says, here's a picture of my junk. That's what the coach
I'll
in
tell
the
you
national
this.
championship does.
He is a person that he's not shy.
No. I think that's what makes it grosser, is that there's so many, and he's married, and he's taking advantage of being on a college campus. It all just plays into it being creepier and creepier. By the way, they're doing the national anthem right now, so we're getting ready to go here.
Yeah,
9 minutes away.
Let's get back to the game. We'll get a prediction from Tony, and we'll give our final predictions here. You want to get yours in under the wire. I don't think it's going to tip I think we still have a good 12 minutes until it tips. So you have plenty of time. 888-MAD-DOG-6, 888-623-3646. We go to Dallas and say hi to Tony with a prediction here on Florida-Houston. Hi, Tony.
Well, hey, boys. I agree with you. I like the path that Houston has been on a little better than Florida's, but I look at it in another way. You also have a contrast here of a team and a school that doesn't really have a big sports program. They don't deal in NILs a lot. They don't do in a lot of transfer portals for any of their sports. They basically don't. I mean, it's a pro city that happens to have a university in it. But the basketball program, those kids are bought in. And Kelvin Samson, if you look at his roster, he drafts heavily in Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, doesn't really go far. Those kids have been there. They don't transfer out. They've been loyal to him. It reminds me a lot of, actually, as your boy with Izzo. It's like they seem very gravitated towards him and buy into anything that man preaches and teaches off season, during the season. So I kind of lean Houston just for that and for what I think that they can play on the floor. And I think they're incredible on defense.
That's a great comp, Tony. The Izzo Samson comp has been made before. Well, oddly enough, Izzo is, I would say, enamored. He very much respects Kelvin Samson and has talked about it ad nauseum. He loves Kelvin Samson as a coach, and Izzo is one of the most respected in the history of the sport.
I think it comes out the most when you hear the players speak about the coaching. They're willing to be pushed. They're willing to like not be happy with the guy leading them because they know it's in their best interest. I think that's really important here when you watch that, where it's so many one and dones. It's so many, let's write a check. Are you comfortable? Are you happy? Are you going to come back next year? Kelvin Samson and Tom Izzo, if someone says they want to transfer out of their program, like, fine, I'll go get someone else who wants to buy into what we're doing here because I know we can win my way. You can go get yours somewhere else. I think that's very much the mindset of both of the men here.
Okay, let's do it. Let's get our last-minute predictions in. 140, so that total has dropped. Did it open 143? Is that what you're telling me? So it's dropped 142. So, pretty precipitous drop down to 140 and a half right now. Let me just take a look at the market to see if it's changed. The number's 1, okay? So maybe you'll find a 1.5, but mostly everybody's showing Florida 1. So we're essentially looking at an up and down game as far as a pick 'em. 140 and a half mostly showing as far as the total. So that's coming down. You heard Jim Root. And again, styles make fights. He thinks the pacing of this game points to an under. It's going to be intense, no doubt. Give as much as we're crushing Golden, give him credit because his team plays its ass off. And Kelvin Samson, that is a benchmark of his teams. They're always going to play their asses off. Defend inside, defend outside. That's factual. I like Houston in the matchup. I like the added scoring of Cryer. Obviously, this year, they're healthy. They haven't been healthy in the past when they've gotten to the Sweet 16 into the Final Four. The momentum from that last 10 minutes against Duke, I genuinely believe in it. I think it carries over, and I think Houston wins tonight and cuts down the Nets.
Yeah, I'm with Houston. I think you look at the analytics because of Houston's offense this year. This is a different Cougars team. They can score. So I like them in the game. I do also like a few under props. I like the under in the game as well. I just think that Houston's going to dictate how this game goes. I think Houston's going to control the pace. They're a much slower paced team than Florida likes to play. And I think when you look at Florida, I thought the number of Walter Clayton was off. I know this is probably the squarest play of the day, but 19.5 points feels low on a guy who's averaging 24.6 since the NCAA tournament began. The guy who makes the whole offense go. Houston's perimeter defense is great, but Clayton's just good at finding ways to score. Went over on him. I'm also on Emmanuel Sharp. Emmanuel Sharp shoots 42% from 3. We're going to go over 13.5 points on him from Houston. He's gone over 13.5 in 3 straight games. I think there's going to be a lot of focus on LJ Cryer. And because of that, I also bet Sharp 12-1 to be most outstanding player. He was the MVP in a bunch of tournaments since coming to Houston. 1.5 years ago, there was a tournament where in the championship against A&M, he went off. He was the MVP. Last year, there was another tournament in season. He won MVP. Big 12, he was MVP. Midwest Regional MVP. I think there's or what's his name won it? Cryer won Midwest Regional MVP. I think this is where Sharp comes back and wins MVP for the Houston Cougars, 12-1.
It's a good breakdown, big guy. Big guy's on his game today. He's all over this college hoops.
And now I got to start over after this game's over. Next year, you got to start over, figure out what team everyone's on. It all ends tonight. All the knowledge you learned over the last 6 weeks about college basketball, it dies.
Well, and in today's day and age, it literally just resets. Like, we don't have carryover.
No. There's no, hey, they were close last year. They're going to build on that. Nope, whole new roster. You know what happens now? We shift our attention to studying for college football because maybe if we start here in April, we'll know who's on what team by the time it starts Labor Day weekend.
Yeah, the only thing that the first place you start with college football these days is you just figure out what quarterback transferred to what school, and you start your handicapping that way.
And we do have that clip ready, by the way, if you want to hear. So
yeah, we'll play coming back. I do want to hear that,
yeah.
Actually. It's Dustin talked to a reporter there talking about the Houston program and the impact of Kelvin Samson. The teams have just been announced, so we're going to have a few minutes until tip. But it looks like a pretty awesome atmosphere. Florida just got announced, Houston being announced, so we do have plenty of time. When we come back, you'll hear about the impact Samson has had on the Cougars. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. We tipped at 51. So 5:51 my time, big guy's time, and then on the East Coast, Steve Torrey's time, 8:51. That's a good job, Dustin, by college basketball and the networks here, getting going literally when they promised.
By the way, we're 30 seconds in. The total's already dropped to 138.5. Like, I don't know what's going on.
It was a long first, you know what it was? It was a long first possession by Houston and a turnaround that missed, and then the total just dropped in game.
It's back up to 140. Okay, here we go.
Florida missed a three.
Houston gets a bucket.
Houston
so that's big. Who scored the first bucket? Because that was a bet. People were Walter Clayton was the shortest shot at about 4 1/4 to 1 to be the first scorer of the game. So I'm curious who gets it here for Houston. We're about to see it happen.
So Clayton, he's not going to be a lottery pick because he's 22. So he'll go late in the first round would be my assumption. But what I do know is you're just getting a confident bucket.
Oh.
Like, he will play 10 years in the NBA and be a legit player. What are you trying to draft?
I'm trying to think of a comp, like a guy who stayed in college, who developed, who's just going to be a very solid player in the NBA. You saw Jay Williams compared him this morning on ESPN. Said he's a mix of Damian Lillard and Steph Curry.
Just his game. You know what? I just kept on coming to Brunson.
Brunson makes sense because he can carry the load, right?
Yeah,
he's a guy who can take it all on.
Brunson has become the guy synonymous with just mentality-wise, just better than ever. Like, obviously he's not Giannis, obviously he's not Jokic, obviously he's not SGA, but mentality-wise, Brunson to me is up there.
Yeah, because you know what? Brunson's because Brunson was in college for a bit too. He didn't leave. He wasn't like an early a guy who left early. I'm trying to see. It was Tugler scored the first basket of the game. He was 9-1.
By the way, Houston's gotten 1 million offensive rebounds. However, transition bucket for Florida tied at 2 18 minutes ago. Let's get to the clip.
Dude.
I want to get to this clip and the impact of Kelvin Samson. I'll let you set it up here.
So Ryan Monso covers the Houston Cougars it's because of Cougar. I'm saying Houston wrong too now. It's like Houston Cougars. GoCougs.com. He's covered them for a while. And I asked him, like, why is this team different than the other teams? Like, what have they done here with the build with Samson? And this is what he had to say.
Well, you've had 2 other runs in U of H history where you made 2 Final Fours back-to-back. You made 3 Final Fours back-to-back. But that was it. There was no sustaining the program. This is the golden era of Houston basketball. You've had 10 winning seasons in a row. I think you've won a conference title 7 of the last 8 years. You've steamrolled through the Big 12 in 2 seasons. This is built to sustain, and they have shown an ability to go out and find the right player, not necessarily the 5-star guy, but a guy that can fit into this culture. You're not coming here to score 30 a night. You're coming here to beat the hell out of somebody and intimidate them physically and find a way to win. And that's just really what they've done all season. As far as the long-term rebuild, when Kelvin Samson got here, games would have 200 to 300 to 400 people at each one. Wow. Conference games, out-of-conference games, it didn't really matter. You were playing in a 50-year-old arena with rats running around everywhere. I mean, it was not a Division I program. It was closer to a junior high program than a D1 program. But he said, I need this, and I need this, and you're going to do it, or I'm not coming. They agreed, and they found the money to build a practice facility, build a new arena, and treat this program like a big boy. And now they're delivering those big boy results.
Okay, that's a good clip talking about the resurrection of the Houston Cougar program under Kelvin Samson. Who was that, Donk?
That was Ryan Monso, GoCougs.com. And by the way, the Houston Cougars offense, they look like they're playing triple option offense. It's super physical at the line of scrimmage. That's what it looks like right now.
You know what it looks? Spastic. They're just like,
that's a good word.
But you know what I'm saying? Like, the ball is going hard they're throwing the ball hard at the rim.
But defensively, Florida keeps getting looks, and they're not used to the physicality. A couple blocks on this play. It's still 4-4 a couple minutes into this one. In game, though, Houston's laying 1.5.
Dude, this defense is insane. Juwan Roberts, who was that for Florida that went up for an insane dunk?
Elijah,
Are you
Elijah
watching
Martin.
this?
Elijah Martin went to block twice on one play.
Oh, my gosh. So Elijah Martin went up for a posterizing dunk, and it was blocked. He got the ball back. Juwan Roberts came and blocked it, went off of him, out of bounds. Houston ball back for a bucket. 6-4 Cougs lead. Let's effing go.
All right, Florida just answered with a dunk of their own. Someone's down. Is that Cryer? No, it's not Cryer. Who is that? Someone is down for Houston. That's not good. They're getting back up. 6-6 game, 16:23 left in the first. What did I say it was? 6?
Dude, I love you. You're not Jim Nance.
Well, no, the problem is, why doesn't the ESPN box score update when the game updates?
I don't know, but why are you yelling at me? I'm just like, you were bumbling and stumbling. I just said
6-6 game. It was Tugler. Tugler went down. He's out of the game, but he looks fine.
I'll give you you have a better personality than Jim Nance.
I mean, I have one?
Well, you're killing Jim Nance. What did he do to your family, big guy? When you come back, what do we got here? Ryan Kramer.
Kramer.
Looking forward to it. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Sweat your bets with VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
I would say, big guy, the 8-8 start with 15:05 to play is the most entertaining 8-8 start to a basketball game I've ever seen. We'll get to that in a second. VSiN, of course, is on SiriusXM Channel 158. You can get your 24/7 sports betting coverage on Channel 158. Now, here's what we're going to do. Exclusive offer for you, $19 through August 1st. It gets you everything. The bets tonight on the game, obviously, we're in there. Our buddy Ryan Kramer, who's coming up next. He had 1 million bets. Dustin, always atop the leaderboard. So get those bets. You get exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circa. You get our Kentucky Derby betting guide, which is coming out soon. It's great. NFL betting guide, draft guide, everything. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe. Promo code SIRIUS. You have to use that. $19 through August 1st, okay? We welcome you back. Dustin Swedelson. I'm Patrick Maher. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Of course, you can find us at VSiN Live on YouTube. We're going to welcome in a true D-Gen. That's what I would say. Ryan Kramer, VSiN, and the Sports Gambling Podcast. So you can catch him on Fridays at 11 p.m. Eastern with our buddy Sean Green, and download the Sports Gambling Podcast wherever you get your podcast. My man's got 1 million bets on tonight's game. He bets the UFL. He's out, and he loves this. He went to Virginia Tech, but you said you love this Houston team. Why?
Part of the beauty of being a Hokie basketball fan for many years is I could pick other teams. And at some point, Kelvin Samson and this Houston team, the way they play basketball are really like just try to fight you on a basketball court. Entertaining to watch. You feel bad for him that amazing play there. You felt bad for him last year when they lost their best player on the way of a little run. So, yeah, just the ultimate story and ultimate team, and just watching what they did to Duke. All-time moment in college basketball.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt them, but I think it was Francis with like a posterized tomahawk dunk. Like, you guys would agree, this game has insane energy, Dustin, to start. Like, the energy is off the charts. Two teams that are playing their asses off.
Yeah, I have to tell you, as someone who's really not a college basketball guy, I am amped up for this game. The buildup has been right. I'm excited for it. So, Kramer, Patrick mentioned you are a true D-Gen. You bet on, like, everything. You always have 1 million bets. Where does college basketball normally rank for you, and what's your, like, excitement level for this matchup?
Over the last couple of years, it's number 2 right behind the NFL. It's kind of a beautiful transition as the NFL ramps down, college basketball ramps up, and yeah, I feel like fairly easy sport to jump in quickly because there's so much volume of games, and then just rely on the analytics. And so, to your point, I texted you this morning. I may have gone overboard on the national championship game, but it's one of those things, right? You start putting in a couple things, and I was like, I really love Roberts. I love the way he, as a grown man, he came into that game against Duke and said, at the end of the game, it reminds me when you're at the park and the old guy at the park is like, I'm going to guard that punk kid on game point no matter what. And when the game was on the line, he's just like, get out of the way. I'm guarding Cooper Flag. So I took his over rebounds at 6.5. I think he's already got 3 offensive rebounds in the game. And then as I'm doing more work, I'm like, wow, well, most outstanding player, if he has a big game, that's an awesome narrative. 16-1. Let me throw that in the pocket. Then I'm talking to Sean, and he likes the points over 10.5. I'm like, yeah, why don't I throw that in too? And Colby Dant, host of the College Experience, is like, well, most points is 30-1. This could be a rock fight. And that's how you accidentally go from, a nice little position on our boy Roberts to basically playing the wheel.
Yeah, Roberts, he must have got a foul early because he sat, but he's got numbers to start. Like, all I'm seeing is just arms up in the passing lanes, just like Florida's got 3 turnovers. It's 10-10. It's really just an electric start to a national championship game. Our buddy Ryan Kramer here. Now, you did ladder. Like, let's just talk overall for the game. You liked Houston in it, and as did I, but you laddered them as well. You went Houston minus 8.5 plus 320 up to 12.5, 5.5 to 1. You got a lot here with Houston.
I also threw in a little alt minus 7.5 with the team total under for Florida 61.5. Little reverse correlation there, or correlation, but the engine thinks it's reverse correlation. 6-1 there. I mean, my logic here is short turnaround, and I see this Houston team as a team that prides themselves on not getting tired. We saw this in the Duke game. And I think while it probably benefits them to slow this game down, I still think this high energy, it almost makes me think of a boxing match where one fighter wants to get the other fighter tired. And, I love this Houston's team gas. And I think if this game is similar to the last couple of games for Florida and they're having to exert that kind of energy, I'd like to see if they can hang to the end of the game, and that's where the logic behind kind of the blowout. I haven't heard too many people talk about the Houston blowout, but that's where the logic comes from. If Florida wears down and the height of their big men isn't this massive advantage everyone thinks it is, then yeah, I think this game could slide pretty quickly with the way Houston plays defense.
I love the strategy because Patrick and I were both earlier in the show just dismissing the idea that Houston's in an emotional letdown spot. No. Kelvin Samson's built for this. This is what he wants. Everything with that Duke game went exactly the way they wanted it to go down the stretch. They want to fight like that. That's the style they're looking for, and they'll turn around and play right away. So we're both with
Juwan's
you. We
back
Houston
in, by
as
the
well.
way. Roberts is back in, Dustin and Ryan. Watching Houston and Florida, to be fair, same thing. But watching Houston is actually inspiring. With how they just go so hard.
It's not the best team in the country, but they can win the national title. That's why it's
true.
awesome.
It's 12-10, so they lead 11:50 to play up to Houston with the ball. So we'll keep you updated there. Ryan Kramer, our buddy, joining us, of course, VSiN and the Sports Gambling Podcast. I want to go back to Saturday. And just that comeback from Houston against Duke. We kind of killed Duke to start the program, but you could just tell it was like the experience and the grown-ass men against the kids that just folded late over the final 10 minutes there with Duke.
And yeah, it's funny because I think in the moment, watching it from my perspective, someone who had the Houston money line, had a nice money line parlay with Florida earlier in the day, I kind of saw it as this massive collapse. And then as I thought about it more, it's like, well, I think Houston would have told you this is the moment they prepared for. And the moment in the game where the announcers were a little bit off, where I was sitting there, Samson not calling a timeout there at the end of the game to give Duke a chance to prepare, like that to me epitomized the entire game. You had this team of well-coached, prepared guys going against the young guys who hadn't cracked yet, and they finally cracked. And I always talk about on the Sports Gambling Podcast that coaching in college basketball is about dead ball scenarios. And you see so often teams have no idea what to do in those scenarios. And, guess what? Kelvin Samson and his teams, they practiced those scenarios and they were ready. And even with that nonsensical technical foul down the stretch, they were able to make a ridiculous comeback. They were down 6 with 33 seconds to go. Unreal. Unreal collapse really married with an unreal comeback. It's kind of both sides.
Yeah, it's probably not fair, Dustin and Ryan, we did kill Duke, but it's what Houston has been built for and built towards. So it's just sports. That really was just it encapsulated what we love about it because it was incredible on Saturday.
14-10 timeout, 10:18 to go. Houston leading by 4, laying 1.5, total down to 133.5. Love to see that after I got a bad number and went under late. But, Ryan, let's say some nice things about Florida because there's a chance they do win this game. We have to live in that world for a moment. It's a small percent chance because Houston's going to finish it. But you had Florida over Auburn. You had them in a parlay. So, obviously, you saw something you like in the Gators. Talk to me about Todd Golden. What do you like about him and this team?
Yeah, in that matchup specifically, too, I think everyone was thinking about Bruce Pearl. He gave this guy his first start. Yeah, he was the weird analytics guy who came in, absorbed Bruce Pearl's system, and has just made it better. And so, yeah, I think in that matchup, it was one of those where I almost like the student more than the teacher because the student has showed me he's got some willingness to adjust. That being said, they also had a dude who's just playing lights out in Walter Clayton Jr. And he essentially became the unfadable guy in that matchup. And then just looking back at how they had played each other this season. And so I like this Florida team. I think this Florida team's been great. Somehow everyone in the sports betting community has a future on Florida. That's amazing. I feel left out of the party. I didn't get the invite earlier in the year when everyone got their 80-1s and 40-1s. But look, the size is why they're sexy. The size is their form down the stretch was arguably best in the nation. And so that's where the Flowers go to, but they also resemble a team that if this moves to the alleyway, I'm not going against Houston. And I picked Houston from the beginning too. So a little of this is as you said, I'm a degenerate gambler. So not always betting with my brain. Sometimes it's just a heart play. And I've been riding this Houston wave. It's been awesome from that bank account. And so yeah, I'll give a couple carnations to Florida, but that's where it stops.
By the way, these two teams have started 0 of 12 from 3. So Houston 0 for 7. Hey, great perimeter defense. Also, they both look nervous as crap when they're shooting the basketball. It's just all about elbows and defense.
The misses look like either they're not hitting anything or they're clanking in weird spots that you don't normally see the ball hit. So that has been an issue. How about Ryan, the coaches, or the other side, Samson? Like 69 years old, the path this year to go through Mark Few, to go through Painter, to go through Barnes. Like, this is a team that's been through it here on their way to the title game, right?
Yeah, I mean, Samson has made some hilarious comments. The comment about the strength of the ACC conference after beating Duke, and just in general, I mean, not just who they had to play, but where they had to play them. They got that Purdue team in India. You couldn't have done the Gonzaga. I mean, you couldn't have made a harder path for a 1 seed, if you're being completely honest. And
Agreed.
I get it. It can be hard to make a schedule, but come on, we have AI now. You can at least make it so the team doesn't have to play road games. And so, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things too, in a year where we're having, what is it? 4 of the best 10 teams in the history of KenPom are all playing in the Final Four this year. For them to have to also go through that path to maintain the chalk, I mean, again, battle tested, right? Sometimes that matters more. And as we continue to see the frantic play, who's it benefiting? It seems like it's benefiting Houston.
As Ryan was talking about it, just busy hands for Houston, a steal and a layup the other way. So they lead by 6. Look, I want to see a good game, obviously. I just would love to see Houston make this comfortable. And I know with those ladder plays from Ryan, he'd like that too. Ryan Kramer joining us. VSiN, of course, you can catch he and our buddy Sean Green, 11 p.m. Eastern on VSiN on Friday nights. Is that a 3? That's off. These two teams cannot get a bucket. Download the Sports Gambling Podcast wherever you get your podcasts as we continue to follow along with the national championship game. That is the first 3 made out of the corner there.
1 for 14 combined.
1 for 14 combined. So 16-13. Houston leads, 9:25 to play here in the first. Do you have an updated number as side and total there, big guy?
Yeah, right now, back to Florida as a -1.5 favorite, even money, and the total ticked up 1 point to 139.5.
All right, a bucket from Houston.
That's
so
why. Another 3 by Florida.
Okay, coming back the other way, Florida hit a 3. I was curious why with a 5-point lead, the live number was Florida 1, and there it is. The 3 is good. I'm behind you. So before we get to – because I want to talk about the draft with our buddy Ryan. Do you actually bet the UFL? Dustin was telling me this during the break. And I know I'm out – like I don't have the bandwidth, but is this something you're betting?
It's more than just betting. This season I came in with week 1 plays that would have rivaled NFL bets. It's almost unsafe. But I mean, it's a league that no one pays attention to, and I like it's not all that complex. So yeah, I'm leaning in pretty heavy to the UFL. I love all the alt leagues. We'll be covering the International Football Alliance as well this summer if you want to get into some
you're
Mexican
crazy.
football.
Ryan legit, when there was like the XFL, like all of them, he was betting all of them. He's also the best like first touchdown better in primetime games I've ever seen in my life. He somehow hits first touchdown bets of like 14-1 on Monday and Thursday Night Football every week.
There was but there was like I turned on a UFL game this weekend. I believe it was a UFL game, and there was literally nobody there. I mean,
nobody. Well, I will say, if you want to see a crowd, DC has the beer snake. If you're not familiar, they all stack their beer cups together. They have a bit of a crowd, but St. Louis, starved for a football team. They actually get like 15,000 people into the dome.
Wow,
it's pretty amazing.
Watch this block.
I did not know that.
Clayton thought he had an easy bucket, and Houston's just too physical. They're letting them play, by the way.
That's good for Houston.
Yeah, Houston coming back the other way with a 4-point lead. I'm behind you, Dustin. They're letting them play is exactly right because 21 goes up and got bodied at the rim. They didn't call anything. I like it. It's wide open. The pace has been frantic. The shooting has been frantic. We're going to a break. Houston up 20-16, and we are right now sitting on 7:42 to play. So we'll keep you updated there. All right, a little breather as they do go to a break.
It's
I feel like I'm playing in the game. It's wild. We were talking NFL draft on Friday. Shedeur and Travis and Colorado had their pro day. Just overall, Cam Ward is going to go 1 to Tennessee. Let's just start there. You'd be shocked if he doesn't go 1 to Tennessee, correct?
Yeah, lock it up. It's in.
Yeah, that would. So it starts at 2. Cleveland and the Giants. I see you have Travis Hunter 2.5 to 1 to be the 3rd overall pick, correct?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a couple of days ago, you could have gotten the same bet on number 2, and a little of this time of like a couple of weeks out, you start to get these market moves based on what? Let's dive into what caused this. Well, Adam Schefter said it on his podcast that Cleveland might be in on Travis Hunter, and you start to realize like, oh, okay, let's look into Cleveland. How are the reporters generally on telling us who they're gonna? Oh, they're horrible. The reports are generally horrible on who the Browns are going to take. They run a pretty tight ship up there in Cleveland. So it's purely just that. Like if the whole market's going to move as aggressively as they did, I mean, Travis Hunter was minus 165 to go the 3 pick 48 hours ago. And so I do like to play a little bit of the ping pong because again, if you play this right, I'm not one to come on here and tout things that I've already bet that you can't bet now, but you should be sitting on Travis Hunter to be 2 or 3 at plus 250 each. Obviously that's a good way to make some money. But yeah, I think to give you the take, I think very purely, it does seem like the only real reporting out of Cleveland suggests more Abdul Carter or a quarterback. And so neither of those are Travis Hunter. We all know the Giants and how they sent their entire staff out to go watch Travis Hunter and Shedeur. I think Travis Hunter 3 at plus 250 is a nice play right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you pay attention to this, you want to bet into it, you got to bet early. I mean, that's the way the draft goes. The market moves so quickly. Probably the last time they had good information on who the Browns were going to draft, well, I guess it wasn't. John Dorsey, right? The Baker Mayfield draft. No one knew Baker was going number 1 overall till like 8 minutes before the draft started. All of a sudden, boom, he's their quarterback of the future. And good God, did that go poorly for them.
Can I just follow up with Ryan? Can I just follow up with Ryan on Travis Hunter? Do you like him as a player, and do you have a preference if you were forced as far as a shutdown corner or wide receiver?
I mean, I love the prospect. I mean, he went out on his pro day, ran routes when he didn't have to, and didn't use gloves. That kind of stood out to me. I think the obvious answer is you have him play cornerback and you have 20 plays a game where he's helping you probably in the red zone. Look, he might not be the most polished receiver. He still might be the best receiver in this class, and he's dynamic at tracking the ball in the air, which screams red zone to me. So I got to imagine most teams will view him as a cornerback because I do think it's easier to have him play part-time on offense and full-time on defense. But who knows? I mean, he seems pretty confident he's going to do both. As a Giants fan, yeah, come on. Malik Neighbors one side, Travis Hunter the other side, and then flip around. He's also playing defense for you. That seems pretty fun.
Yeah, Ryan, we've talked about it. I'm a Giants fan too. I want Hunter. I mean, Carter would be cool, but I think Carter has a very high floor.
Is Abdul Carter like? Are we talking Bosa?
Yes.
Are we talking Watt? Is that what? Because I don't know a ton about him.
A little different. I think he's a little bit more versatile, but I think he's a can't miss. Every time I watched Penn State in a game, he was making a big stop in the backfield when it mattered. He's the focal point for everyone on offense. You have to be aware of where he is. How would you feel about Abdul Carter ending up with the Giants?
My opinion is there are 2 blue chip prospects in this draft, Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. I'd rather have Travis Hunter, but Abdul Carter, the comp is Micah Parsons. It's very easy. He went to Penn State as well. And because you can find tape of him getting blown off the ball in the running game, but he's a dynamic pass rusher. He has the bend. He has the traits that, put him in the 0.001% of guys who are going to disrupt. And, Dustin, if you want to remember the good old years of when we were good as Giants, we had a nice rotation at the pass rush. So our main pass rushers were only on the field 60 to 70% of the time. That's the reason why either one of those guys would be great. I still fear that there's the desperation. John Mara walks in the room, throws the trash can and said, pick me a quarterback. Because that would be devastating to me.
And I like Shedeur. I think Shedeur is going to be a solid quarterback, but you can't take him at 3.
No.
I'll take any of the options at number 3 outside of Shedeur. Anyone who falls to them, 100% home run. That's the pick. But if they reach for Shedeur Sanders and you have a quarterback room of Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, and Shedeur Sanders, that might as well be a Bravo reality TV show.
If you take Shedeur at 3, when some don't have him as a first rounder, and you're passing up, like Ryan said, on an Abdul Car, like it's just malpractice. I'll ask you quickly. 21-18, Houston leads. They literally just missed everything on a 3-point attempt. So Houston can't do Dick-Ola from outside. Let me ask you, Ryan, about the quarterback and Shedeur Sanders. Do you like the prospect?
Not really. And I think the reason why is I don't think he's very athletic relative to any of the other quarterbacks we're talking about, whether it's Cam Ward, Tyler Shuck, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, obviously. And I don't think he has that elite arm talent. I think where he's elite is he's a great pre-snap processor. He's very accurate. And it's fair to say that he had horrible pressure problems in college because his offensive line was a problem, but he also created a lot of those pressures. And I think what do we see? Like Caleb Williams. Sometimes you see the pressure created by the quarterback, and that does translate to the NFL. So, amazing alley-oop there. So we can talk about what just happened
off
here.
the block. Was that Roberts with the block?
So first Cryer hits a 3. Then there was a block, and then an alley-oop for Houston. Go back the other way, and they block. There's a tie-up for the ball, and they call it jump ball. Florida has never seen a physical game like this. They are not ready for the Cougars.
Yeah, but just to quickly, sorry, Ryan, interrupt you on Shedeur Sanders.
No.
A lot of it is that he took sacks because he didn't want to affect his completion percentage. Like, that is not the vibe I want from a quarterback. And I do think he's a composed kid. I think he takes shots because of his dad. I don't think composure or maturity is the issue. I just don't know if he's all that. I don't think he's really, really good.
Yeah, I think he's actually very polished. I think the polish is there off the field. I think honestly his genetics are the reason I would be okay and could talk myself into the idea. He's gotten better every year. He's got some of the most elite genetics inside his body. And if there's one thing I like about Deion being his dad is like Deion's an elite youth sports coach, and he has great messages. His kids are clearly prepared for the moment. All the stuff you heard about him behind the scenes at Super Bowl was like really sharp guy, thanking everyone, like being a true pro. And so I think that's the reason why I don't think he's a problem. Now, that being said, the quarterback room of Shedeur Sanders, Jameis Winston, and Russ Wilson, that's a different story. And that's a problem for different reasons. But yeah, that's a YouTube channel, I think.
What they did with it, it's so embarrassing. Seriously, your team embarrassed yourself, big guy. I mean, that is such an embarrassing quarterback.
No, because it's all good if it means they don't draft Shedeur Sanders. They don't force a quarterback. I don't even like Cam Ward, Ryan. So what do you think about Cam Ward? Because I did not want him to fall to the Giants at 3, and I'm a Miami fan as well. So that should have been everything I ever dreamt of. The guy who plays for my college, plays for my pro team, but I'm just not buying him like everyone else is. What do you think of Cam Ward?
So you mentioned how we AAF, XFL. Well, if you remember, the FCS played in that spring during the pandemic, and that's where we first kind of fell in love with Cam Ward at Incorporate Ward. And I actually think he's a dog. Like, he's an amazing mental player. I love the videos of him chirping with Shedeur. I love the fact that he does have the arm talent. My concern with him is he freestyles a little bit too much too, and he'll throw an amazing deep ball, an amazing 15-yard deep out on the run, but then a little flare out to the running back. He fires it in 2 yards off target for a pick 6. Like that's the problem with Cam Ward is he still makes me like he's still probably the 4th best quarterback if you're comparing him to last year's class, for example. Yeah. So I think, to your point, I would be happy with Cam Ward because I've seen him at every level like have some success, show the skill, but still, I think there's 2 blue chip guys in this draft, and I would prefer to get one of those guys.
So while we've been talking, Houston kind of a little momentum shift their way. They banked in a 3. It looked like the dirtiest shot ever. It goes in, and it kind of led to a travel the other way. And that's kind of been the story. Florida has 8 turnovers to just 1 for Houston. So that's been a big story here. Florida has out-rebounded Houston, so you give them credit there. The 2 teams are 5 of 20 from 3. That's disgusting. But it does feel like Houston's starting to settle in. The block shots have been incredible. Juwan Roberts already, and I know you're on him big here. He's got 4 boards. He's got a block. He does have 3 points, so he's starting to fill up the stat sheet. Dustin, this is started frantic. It does feel like Houston's starting to settle down a little bit here.
I think it's really important. The ref thing matters because it also means late in the game, they're going to be even less involved. They should let more go. You can't like start a game out this way and let all the physicality go and then start calling ticky-tack stuff late. So Florida's got to adjust. They have to realize this is not a normal game and the refs are going to let them go. Plays right into all of our hands. Is Ryan, let's go through the bets real quick. Hold on. You went Roberts over points, over rebounds, most points at 30-1, most outstanding player 16-1, and Uzan over 3.5 assists. Where are we at with Uzan? No
0
assists.
assists.
Yet,
Zero assists.
Okay, we can get there. However, Houston minus 8.5 at plus 320, 12.5 at plus 550. That would mitigate a lot of mistakes.
I mean, again, I used the Tennessee-Florida game from early in the year. I believe it was 64-44 as the kind of physical rock fight that could result in a blowout for Houston, and it's looking that way. I didn't give this out to you because I didn't want to scare off the audience, but 69-53 exact score is in the bucket.
Let's go.
We're not that far off of right now. We're not that far off.
No.
This is
wow.
Well, there's a better chance of me flying to the moon tonight than Roberts not grabbing 7 rebounds in the national championship games as a 32-year-old. So we know that's going to happen. Florida does get a bucket to pull within 6, 29-23. I misspoke. They have 9 turnovers so far. Florida does. So a little sloppy to start. Still in it is the only thing that would scare me as a Houston backer here. Because Florida has turned the ball over so much, but you do love the officiating. We had Jim Root on earlier. He said it's a veteran crew, and they are letting them play. Here's a bomb from 3 for Houston. It's off the back of the rim. It's going to be Florida ball. 3:41 to play, 29-23. Houston leads Dustin, 29-23.
Yeah, I mean, I've been waiting my entire life for a Cougar to be as physical with me as the Houston is doing to Florida right now. I can tell you that.
You've been waiting 2 hours and 29 minutes to say the joke that you had prepared. So congratulations, you got it in. We give you credit. You got it, even with a guest in. You usurped and one-upped our guest. So
I loved it. I love some good Dustin humor.
Tremendous.
Ryan
Do it every night for 3 hours. See
Yeah,
if you can handle that, Ryan
It
Kramer.
becomes a lot. Ryan and I have hung out where I've
I'm
been very
aware.
much drunk at Circa, and he's been very sober getting out of a show. And we've
more
hung out
more
after.
genitalia than Todd Golden in those jokes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we have some NSFW group chats that have,
Yeah. That's right. All right, how about this? I know you've got a couple of NFL draft plays, but this one intrigues me. The Rams' first selection at 14-1 will be what position?
Quarterback. I mean, look at the drama they just went through. You look at the quarterback room, and after Stafford, who seemed like 2 years ago retirement was on the table, last year he seemed at least eager to make the Rams give him more money. This is a smart franchise. They're not going to put themselves behind the 8 ball, and all they have on the roster is Jimmy G and Stetson Bennett. Come on. So 26th pick. Now that not only is in the range of when we think some of these quarterbacks are going. We've seen the latest steam with Milroe accepting the invite to the draft. Could there be 4 quarterbacks going in the first round? Definitely going to be 3, it seems like. Definitely seems like a couple are going to go in the last 10 picks, whether someone's trading back in or whatnot. So either in the scenario where they trade back maybe because they think they can get a guy later, or they hold pat and surprise people with a quarterback. I think there's a team that's going to surprise with one of these quarterback selections who is getting out ahead of the problem. And I think the Rams could be one of those teams at 14-1. That number's available at FanDuel right now. At some other places, it's 7-1. Like, I think there's some steam here too. Like, you listen to what the Rams have talked about the quarterback room, and it's a lot of, yeah, we're fine, which generally means they're not fine. And also, this is a team that hasn't worried about the collection of draft picks more than they have going and getting their guy. They're very confident. They've gotten a lot of things right. So I certainly could see them making a little bit of a splash here with a surprise quarterback pick.
You mentioned Jalen Milroe, who the big guy's high on. do you see him as a competent passer in the NFL?
So badly I wanted him to be like I Senior Bowl week. It's like, come on, have a good nope, completely horrible practice. And then like you go and you watch what he can do, and it's like, boy, we've been fooled by this before. Anthony Richardson comes to mind. But what in the back of my head, what makes him different is he was recruited by Nick Saban and played at Alabama for a couple of years. And I think about the dog that you must have to do that kind of stuff. And I also think, you know, I've heard a number of evaluators, including Todd McShay, talk about how he's too jacked. He's too big up top. It doesn't have the flexibility, and that's what's holding him back from a throwing motion perspective. So perhaps a body type change could help him become a little bit more of a passer. He's already such an elite runner. He doesn't necessarily need that to be 10 out of 10. And so I don't think he can be successful unless he figures that out. And I think he's going to have to land somewhere that is clearly developing him and not going to throw him in like Anthony Richardson got thrown in with the Colts. But boy, I mean, you think about a scenario that could be positive, backing up someone, you know, that also is a mobile quarterback, that maybe also wasn't the most accurate guy coming into the league. Buffalo comes to mind. Philly comes to mind. The problem is someone's going to take a stab at him in the first round, I think. I don't think he's accepting the invite to the draft if he doesn't know something. And it's just making me wonder, like, who's taking him? Is it the Steelers? Are they going to shock us? Arthur Smith's wet dream comes true and they draft a running quarterback like that? I don't know. But I like him too. I don't think he can pass. He has to develop. He's going to need time to develop. And I think if he doesn't get it, he'll be a failure. If he gets it, maybe we're talking about a gem.
Yeah, Kramer, I just think you follow the Jalen Hurts path, because Hurts really isn't an accurate passer. He's more accurate than Milroe, but you scheme it up that way. You let him run some wildcat early on, and boom, you figure out like 2-3 years in, he has all the experience he needs to become a legit NFL quarterback, and he can't teach what he does with his legs. He is a running back with a powerful arm that just needs to harness it. So now that I know that you're this deep into your NFL draft bag,
let me give you real quick. Let me give you a nugget on him, because this is shock. Like, we know Cleveland might need a quarterback. His college coordinator at Alabama was Tommy Rees when he had his better season. Tommy Rees is now the offensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns. So perhaps that's the scenario where he gets picked off, maybe a trade back into the first round for Cleveland as they reunite Tommy Rees and Milroe.
Who is the Ryan Kramer super sleeper that you just love in this draft? Or maybe it's a bet, maybe it's a situation, a guy going to a place, or just a player you love? Who's the guy that stands out?
That loaded question. I'll give you a homer pick. If you're not familiar, Basil Tootin, a.k.a. Tugboat Tootin. He's a running back out of Virginia Tech. He tested way better than people expected. He's a smaller guy, and I don't think people were going to give him all the love. I think he could go as high as the third round. He's going to be, if he goes into the right type of scheme, he is going to be dynamic. Think something like a Darren Sproles type, right? Small, but packs a punch, really, really good vision. That would be my absolute homer hokey spotlight player.
All right. We'll leave it with a hokey take. And that was a great 36-minute hang. Ryan Kramer, VSiN. You can catch him Fridays, 11 p.m. Eastern. VSiN with Sean Green, of course. And then download the Sports Gambling Podcast. You're going to love it wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks, Ryan. That was a ton of fun. Appreciate the time tonight.
Cheers. Enjoy the rest of the game.
Okay, brother. Thank you. We'll update you on this. A three-pointer. A bit of a dagger there. 31-28. When we come back, we'll get you updated on Houston, Florida national championship game as the first half is about to expire.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, the men's college basketball championship game between Florida and Houston. You can hear the game on College Sports Radio, Channel 84, and on the SiriusXM app. As we welcome you back here, VSiN Live, streaming live on YouTube at VSiN Live. Of course, here on Mad Dog Sports Radio, Dustin Swedelson. I'm Patrick Meagher. Naya, of course, New York City. Ryan Smith, Las Vegas. So we've got you covered. Even Jacob, the weirdo, is there just doing his thing, which you don't ask. But the game is at the break. So let's talk about it. It is, look, and Houston had an opportunity to go in up 6, but they airballed a 3. And I think they were 2 of 14 from 3. Yep. And I think 7 of those misses missed everything, including the rim. However, they do lead 31-28 at the break. Now, the reason being, Florida has 9 turnovers to Houston's 2. Houston has 5 blocks. They've been so freaking active. It's insane. So that's kind of what you point to. Florida's not shooting the ball all that great. They're 4 of 14 from 3, big guy. No free throws. So each team took 2 free throws, and I love the way the refs are letting them play basketball.
Oh, this is how it should be. I'll also point out they're playing in a football arena. That's why the shooting has gone down. More importantly, I want to note Walter Clayton Jr., who is averaging almost 25 points per game in the NCAA tournament, has 0 points at the break. He does have 5 assists, though, 2 boards, but 0 points from the guy who's been carrying the offense. I think that's why the halftime line has Florida laying 1.5, second half total 76.5, because the expectation is Florida's going to shoot better, and a lot of that starts with Walter Clayton Jr.
Yeah, if I said a number at a 0.5 point in the first half on Clayton, I would have
minus $1 million, minus $1 million over a 0.5 point.
Insane. I'm just trying to. You know what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to forget the stats, forget just what you watched over that 20 minutes. I'm trying to get a vibe. It feels like Houston should win the basketball game. That's all I can say. I think some of those shots are going to go down, and intangibly, I feel like Houston's better.
It feels like a UFC fight where one fighter is cornered and they don't know what to do, but they've hit the equal amount of punches. So technically by score, it looks like it's a close fight, but the reality is at any point in time, one of these teams is going to break, and that's Florida. They're not used to this. They're kind of cornered right now. They look really frantic on offense. Everything they planned has been thrown out the window. That's where things come down to coaching here. Can Todd Golden adjust, and can Kelvin Samson adjust to the adjustments? Can he anticipate what Florida's going to try and do differently after getting pushed around in that first half? And don't get it twisted. They got absolutely mauled a few times. Refs let it go. I mean, that's how it should go. But there's been a lot of contested shots at the basket for Florida. And I think because of that, despite not being able to shoot well, 4 of 14 from 3 in the first half, they're going to end up launching a lot more threes. The question is, will those fall?
Yeah, they're letting them play. But you brought up a good point, and we've seen it consistently through the tournament. Golden adjusting at the break.
He's great.
So if you're a Houston Packer like I am, there is some trepidation.
Well, especially because they cut it to 3, right? What was it, like a 6-7 point lead there for a little bit?
Yeah, they were up 29-21.
Yeah, so 8-point game. They cut it to 3. That's kind of a dagger because the score doesn't indicate. Houston pushed them around. Houston owned the glass. Houston forced a ton of turnovers. And Florida just didn't look like the same team. It didn't look like the offense you've seen the last, 2.5 months here, since mid-February. They've been really efficient. There was nothing efficient about the Florida offense in the opening half here. So down 3, they have to go into that locker room being like, it's a miracle we're in this. We should be down 10, 12 points with the way we've gotten knocked around and out physicaled. Let's calm down. Let's try and play our game. But the problem is playing their game begins with hitting threes. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. 1, because of Houston, but 2, because of the sight lines in that football stadium.
All right.
Had to get it in one more time.
Well played. Here's what I will say, because we're both on Houston, and you got a 6.5. So good job.
I don't feel great. I don't feel great.
You know why I don't feel great? Walter Clayton Jr., 0 points. Elijah Martin, 2 points. And Florida's down 3. That terrifies me.
And Houston is a team to me that is actually built to be in the opposite position. They're built to be down 3 at the break, not up 3 at the break. I don't really love the idea of them with a team this good, potentially offensively. They're going to do something to get back in this and take a lead early. I question Houston's offense in the role reversal here. I love that. I love them having to climb and fight.
Yeah, but Dustin, Martin and Clayton Jr. are combined 2 points and they're down 3.
No,
that is, yeah. You know what? Starting to get a little nervous.
In fairness, Cryer and Sharp have a combined 7, and both those guys light it up. Cryer, 5 points, 1 of 5 from 3, and Sharp, who shoots 42% from 3, he's 0 for 4. So I can make the same case that the shots are going to fall for the Cougars as well.
Here's what I will say. Neither team could hit a 3. The difference in this game, it's a 3-point game at the break with Houston up. One of those threes that Houston made, 2 of 14, was a bank. That's the difference right now. This is a dead-even game outside of a banked-in three-pointer.
How about this? Houston has 5 blocks in the first half. That's 10 points. 10 potential points off the board because Houston's just so good defensively. 5 blocks in one half is crazy.
The big guy. You know what he is? He's in his college basketball bag there at the SiriusXM studios at the Wynn in Las Vegas with the crew doing a great job. Yeah, this is here's what I will say. My thoughts about Houston potentially pulling away, I don't have those feelings anymore. There's going to be 30 seconds left. Someone's going to call a timeout, and it's a 1-point game.
If you would have asked me with like 2 minutes to go on the clock in the half how I felt about Houston, I said they're about to run away with it, win by 15. All of a sudden, Florida just gets back in it and closes at a 3-point game at the break. I don't love that because to me, a lot of basketball, it's the inbounding, right? That's where we find out how good of a coach is. But it's also at the end of the half. How do you handle that? How do you either extend your lead or get back into it? Florida won that battle there in crunch time. I don't love that for our situation with the Cougs.
I would love to know what Samson and Golden are saying to their teams at the break.
I bet you
both feel like they have a golden opportunity here, no pun.
Well, I think Samson goes in and tells them it's not over. You got to put your foot on their neck. You got to come out just as aggressive you were at the start. We have to stay and play physical basketball. And then for Golden, they just have to come up with something creative that they haven't done to get open looks for Clayton. Clayton's got to get going offensively. If he scores less than 10 points, they do not win this game.
No, they're going to Golden and his assistants are saying, Martin and Clayton Jr., we got to get them going. And they will get going in the second half. The question is, as you mentioned, can Sharp and Cryer get going as well? Because they didn't do anything in the first half either. We're setting up for a great second half. I'm actually very excited about it. So we do go to the break. This is going well under the posted total of 140.5. That I can assure you people. Even if they shoot much better, there is a combined, 59 points in the first half. 31,
on the
28.
game. So on the game, Houston's laying 1.5, and the in-game total is 135.5. So this thing may keep creeping lower and lower because I imagine Houston, right? If Houston can come out and extend their lead a little bit, they are going to slow this pace up. The only time they want to run is off of turnovers because that's just what you have to do because you have numbers as a team. But I think if Florida comes out, hits a couple shots, you can bet Houston is slowing this thing up.
888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. Okay, we'll come back, set you up for the second half national championship game 2025. Right now, Houston up 30-28 as we're at the break. It is VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Maher and Dustin Swedelson.
Hey, big guy, can you get that second half number? I just want to let everybody know that right now, $19, that's all it costs. You can get everything VSiN has to offer, become a VSiN Pro, and this is a special just for you, a SiriusXM listener and Mad Dog Sports Radio listener. $19 through August 1st, which is crazy. It gets you everything we offer, a daily email daily, obviously, from hosts and guests with the picks, exclusive betting splits from DraftKings, Circus Sports, Kentucky Derby betting guide, the NFL betting guide, the NFL draft betting guide, VSiN.com/subscribe. Use the promo code SIRIUS to lock in the special offer. VSiN, the sports betting network. As we do welcome you back, Dustin Swedelson. I'm Patrick Maher. Dustin, of course, live on Monday and Tuesdays from the Wynn. The studios are incredible in Las Vegas, the SiriusXM studios. Let me ask you, do you have that second half number? Because we are yet to get underway.
Yeah, Florida's laying 1.5. That's juiced at -115, plus 1.5 on Houston, -120. And then the second half total is 76.5.
Okay, so we mentioned 31-28 at the break, and Dustin and I are both on Houston, but, I mean, it's literally Elijah Martin has two points, and Clayton Jr. has nothing, and they're down 3. That right there is all, that in a capsule is all you need to know about this game. If you're a Houston backer, you're nervous going into the second half.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the stats that jump out to you is 9 turnovers in the first half for Florida offensively and 5 blocks defensively for Houston. In the end, Florida actually ended up out-rebounding the Cougars in the first half, 22-19. Beginning, though, of the game, it was all Houston on the glass everywhere. And then in terms of bench production, 4 points on the bench for Florida, where Houston's gotten 13 bench points out of 2 guys, Wilson and Francis. So that's been helpful because, as you mentioned, Cryer and Sharp haven't gotten going. For Florida, Clayton and Martin haven't gotten going. I'm curious about this total. We're at 135.5. Actually, this is the better question. Overtime. It was 13-1 at Circa, 10-1 at William Hill. Will there be overtime? Let's see what it is in game, because that intrigues me. Yes is plus 750. Yes is plus 750. We have a 3-point game. It's a physical game. Threes are not falling for either side, relying on more twos, which should be higher percentage shots. Plus 750 in game for overtime is interesting.
Look, I don't hate it. Nothing separates these two teams. That's what they're both 35-4. So they both have 4 losses coming into this on the year. I think you said it well as far as Houston is definitely not the best team in the country, but they're in the final. So I think Florida's, I don't know.
Most balanced team. Florida's the most balanced team.
They're more balanced. That's a better way of putting it.
Florida's the most balanced. Houston's the most intense team. And I think ultimately the synopsis of what we've seen so far in the first half, we're getting the game we deserved. This is the game. We didn't have a really good start to the tournament. There was no Cinderellas. There was no big upsets outside of like McNeese State and Drake. And we've been complaining about, is the juice worth the squeeze with the NCAA tournament? This is the game that makes it all worth it. It's exactly what should happen when you have 4 1 seeds in the Final Four to finish with the 2 games we had Saturday and the first half of this game. I have expectations of fireworks in the second half.
Yeah, coaching matters, and Houston – the passing lanes, it's all arms defensively. Like Houston, nothing comes easy. And to give Florida credit, they out-rebounded Houston in the first half. The second chance points were there. Neither team could hit a 3. Houston was 2 of 14, and Florida was 4 of 14. That's why the score is what it is, and they scored 59 total points in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, I'm nervous. Like, this is the first time I'm a little bit nervous because Houston came out and just mollywopped them with a couple shots. And
I think it was like 29-21 at one point. I was
like,
Houston might creep away here, but that was not the case.
Houston
couldn't hit a big shot. There were a couple times where momentum was starting to feel like it was going Houston's way, and they just couldn't hit a big shot when they needed it.
You got to give Golden credit. Creepy guy, we established that on the show. You can draw up some X's and O's, though.
Yeah, speaking of creepy. Coming up next. No, I'm just playing. Donk. All right. Thank you, Nia Hardman, Ryan Smith. I want to also especially thank John, Brian, Jeremiah, and Antoine. They're at the SiriusXM studios, the Win in Las Vegas with the big guy. He'll be back there tomorrow. Fun show. It's a good job by the big guy on College Hoops today. I thought he was stellar. Look, Houston backers, I'm not feeling great, but we're up 3. Second half to come. We'll see you tomorrow. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio.